The following is a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club.
Hello and welcome to the 9th and final round of the 2024 Summer Chess Classic. As always, we are your hosts. I'm Caleb Denby, and I'm joined once again by Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan.
Caleb,
Yasser,
pleasure. Championship round.
Last day.
That's what it's all about. Hello, everyone.
And we're going to be with you today until we have crowned our winners.
Yes, indeed. That's what it's all about. And tell us about our standings after 8 really great rounds of fighting combative chess.
Yeah, I mean, the tournament's been up in the air since the start. Andrew Hong in the A group finds himself atop the leaderboard, but there are no fewer than 4 players just a half point back, just gunning to take him down.
Absolutely chasing pack of wolves. I described them as including Ray Robson, the highest ranked player in the field coming into the event.
Yeah, Ray and Oparin, I think, are the top 2 seeds in the mix there. And over in the B group, there's also some contention left. Steven Zierk managed to separate himself from Andy Woodward, his co-leader, in round 8, and in round 9, I believe he's already drawn his game.
So it's only up to Andy that could potentially tie Steven. And tell us about the format for these 2 events.
Of course, we find ourselves in round 9 of 2 10-player round robins. Of course, the final round, the players have 2 hours for the entire game with a 30-second increment throughout, and there are no draw offers permitted. And should one of the chasing pack catch up to the leaders, there will be a playoff today.
Okay.
The time control for that is going to be 3 + 2, and that's it, just 3 + 2 flat. And if they haven't found a winner after 2 games of 3 + 2, they will play an Armageddon game.
Okay.
So once again, if we have 2 players tied for first, they play a 2-game blitz match, and if they don't settle it there, then it's an Armageddon.
Yeah, or otherwise a round robin in case there's actually more. And lay the table for us in this championship round. What about the pairings? Let's start with the A group.
Well, it's pretty exciting, the pairings for today. We've got Awonder Liang playing Benjamin Bach, Temur Kuybokarov playing Ante Brkic, Ray Robson plays Grigoriy Oparin, 2 of the chasers there, so that should make for an exciting game.
Cool.
They are sort of in a must-win if they want to catch Andrew.
Right.
Antipov plays Christopher Yu, who is also on half a point back.
Right.
And Nikolas Theodorou takes on Andrew Hong in our key matchup of the day. So Theodorou, with some up and down games, find himself in 50%, which is just out of the running for first place, but he can play spoiler here up against Andrew Hong.
Big time as we see them at battle. And tell us about the. Should we jump into that game?
Let's check in on that game because very weird stuff is going on. You can see on the camera there's a king on g8,
right?
But it's not because Black castled. So here we find the game.
And it was a very strange. Okay.
This is.
I mean, it's
super normal. Okay, White's bishop is inside the pawn chain for some reason. But, you know, sometimes weird things happen.
Castles. Now, at this point, everybody and his brother castles. Full stop. End of story. If you don't want a castle, and it's perfectly legit, you can play the move knight b6, bishop e6, queen e7, and castle long.
Sure.
No.
Yeah, king f8, we thought this was like a broadcast error, and then all of a sudden moves kept coming, and we're like, I guess
no.
This was his intention.
Yeah, you just trapped your rook on h8. Bad play. Now here, g4. Now, to my way of thinking, you're going to play e4. You're just going to play e4. And, you know, in these types of positions, you tuck your king away. Yeah. It's always a decent move. King c1, b1, you tuck your king away, then you play e4. G4, c5, okay. And now we're about to see why maybe your king should be on b1.
The C files opened up, yeah.
The C files opened up, and
G4 really help us?
Yeah, it did. It did help us a little bit in the sense that we do control the square. Maybe on a good day we'll play G5, but in truth, King B1 would have helped us more, and we want to play Bishop C3. Now it's very clear that White has this tremendous advantage in that he's playing a rook up.
Yeah.
The rook on H8. It's going to take some time for that rook to get into play. From a Black's point of view, he's got to control the fact that he's a little bit of, he's behind. Let's say knight takes, bishop here, king b1, rook here. I'm playing what I would consider rather natural moves.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I wouldn't want to be Black.
So rook on H8.
I got a rook on H8.
But the rook on F8, and Black's probably doing okay, but...
Very reasonably, if not equalized. But with the rook on H8, oof. Tell us about the pairings for Group E.
Very, very strange. King F8, King G8. I have not seen that one. But in Group B, it's a very exciting situation. Andy Woodward takes on Josiah Stearman with the white pieces. Alice Lee plays Begum Tokyo Genova. Brewington Hardaway is up against Irina Krush. Akshat Chandra plays Melik Kachian. And in what was our key matchup of the day, Steven Zierk plays Harshit Raja. However, Steven, with a half point in the lead and the white pieces, managed to find a way to call that one a draw.
A quick draw.
They've made a draw.
He secured at least a tie for first.
Yes.
And only Andy can tie him.
So it will be up to Andy in the main game we're going to focus on today. If Andy can win this game, we'll see a playoff in the B group.
Okay.
And he's certainly trying.
Well, let's see what it is. It was a Queen's Gambit accepted.
And yeah, this E4 line leads to some very serious theory, lots of knowledge required here, but it also makes for very, attacking positions.
Exactly. I played the Queen's Gambit Queen's Gambit accepted my whole career. I've had this position as Black numerous times in U.S. championships, in interzonals, and so on. And I've always played knight b6 here. And then I give my opponent the choice, which diagonal would you like to put your bishop on? If they put their bishop on this diagonal, then I go bishop f5 followed by e6.
Shut it down.
Simple stuff. And if they go to the other diagonal, then I usually go knight c6, knight e2. They don't like to play knight f3 because of bishop g4. And again, lots and lots of games in my career that more or less, this is not even the tabia position.
It goes
a long, long way. But even, you can teach an old dog new tricks. Even though I've played this position as Black, again, numerous times, bishop f5 I've never played because I was always afraid of queen b3.
Well, it attacks the knight, it attacks f7, and attacks b7.
And, c7, c6, and you got to ask yourself, can I capture the pawn? Andy, perhaps just simply fearing, computer-assisted analysis, said, a little discretion is a better part of valor. I will castle. And they quickly reached a position where I think there's something wrong with Josiah. He can't sit still. He doesn't. He goes. Yeah, he always is going aggressive. I mean, he's got one mode: attack, attack, attack. Did you see that sweet romantic movie, The Norseman?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. Not sure it's as you describe.
It was about a 9th century berserker. Just imagine the ultimate warrior, going.
Josiah's got a little bit of that in him.
He's got the berserker in him. G5, rook e1, g4, and he has made serious kingside weaknesses. Including the f5 square, and after the move bishop d3, essentially Andy's kind of throwing down a gauntlet there, a challenge. Are you going to, go with your threat? You played g5, g4 to attack / trade the knight. Would you like to do it? I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I really the bishops here might be nice. That light squared bishop just controls both sides of the board really effectively.
Yeah.
You get to undermine my pawn, but...
let me just play what I would think is like a dream pawn sacrifice. The knight on d7 looks really forlorn, and I'm going to play f5, f4.
This might make the record book for one of the worst pawn structures of all time.
Exactly.
Like b7, b6, d5, d4. All pawns isolated.
I think Josiah is in a real world of hurt. And again, this is self-inflicted. I mean, there was, if you had castle, put a pawn on g7 at this point, put a rook on e8, I'd think the position's about equal. The desirable b5, knight b6, knight c4 has a problem. It's being met by knight h2. Where is your bishop going?
I'll go to h5. Whoa!
That was not good. Yeah. You'll go to h5, I'll go to f4, which was the entire intention.
And
I want to play it.
Stuck.
You're getting stuck. Your bishop is simply offside. Again, I mean, you can chase whatever it is that you're trying to do over on the queen side, but I don't like it. I mean, I just don't like it for black. So whatever Josiah does at this point, he's not going to be able to solve his strategic problems.
Yeah. Well,
so
that's how we stand in the B group.
Yeah, Andy with advantage.
So with the tournament wrapping up, why don't we see what's at stake here?
Yes.
Of course, the players fighting for not just bragging rights in this tournament,
some nice
fighting
prize
for
fund.
thousands of dollars. So in the A group, first place takes home $5,000, second place takes home $4,000.
Right.
I believe in reality, it's more like $5,500 if you get clear first, because you get that winner's bonus down at the bottom.
Gotcha.
Now, if we do see a tie and a playoff for first and second, they split that first and second money evenly, $4,500 apiece.
You got it.
But then whoever wins the playoff gets that extra $500.
Bonus prize.
So you get an extra $500 for getting clear first instead of having a playoff, essentially. It's a little convoluted, but
No, I like it. I like it.
Keeps it interesting.
Absolutely.
And over in the B group, it's not so different. First place is $4,000, second place $3,000, third place $2,500, and once again, there's this winner's bonus system where you get to split the money if you get in a tie for first, but the winner of the tournament gets that nice bonus.
Exactly. Now, yesterday we had a nice interaction with the audience. They got a chance to stump the Masters with some nice questions. Tell our audience how they can reach out and have some fun.
Well, we would love to hear from you. You can use the hashtag SummerChessClassic on X and follow along with the games at uschesschamps.com. But especially, put your questions in the chat room. Twitch, YouTube, wherever you watch, put your questions in the chat. We're going to be pulling highlighted questions and answering them live on stream.
Exactly. We got a crazy game. Typically, whenever Begum sits down, I wonder what the heck is going on. And, well, she's got this game with Alice Lee, which is just really a fun, weird game. So Alice is a pawn up.
Yeah.
But the pawn that she's up is actually a passer on the a6 square.
Yeah,
so
whenever...
it's deep in the territory, right?
So,
and on the other hand, it's light square bishop, opposite bishops, but Begum is actually, tossing some patties at Alice's king.
Going for the kill.
Now, we don't have to go too far backwards, but essentially, we're back here, and frankly, I kind of admired this nerves of steel by Alice. I would be playing highly defensive moves, rook c2, anticipating that my rook would come either to g2 or f2.
Second rank defense is
right,
pretty nice.
And a5, a6 is a kind of a trump that I think, okay, I've got that in my pocket for later. Alice is like, I don't believe any of your attack.
Let's go.
I'll get my pawn up to a6 and just basically saying, do your worst. Try to hit my king.
The way I like to think about these positions is, yes, black's trying to drum up an attack, but she's on a clock.
She's on a clock.
The clock is a6, a7, a8.
Right.
And if you don't get there in time, then when time's up, the game will end.
Okay. So
And also, who was it that said good technique is pushing pawns?
yeah. Well, I like the pawn push, of course, but I'm kind of a guy. I like a safe king, as well. Let's see what we can do here to drum up an attack. Now, the first point, and an extremely important point, is that when you do go queen here with the very desirable idea of playing bishop to g4, there's a nice defense. It's a little bit hidden, but once you see it, you immediately
the
get
dark
it.
squares.
Yeah, you get to play queen to f4. Anytime you get to play queen f4, that's a pretty good defensive queen. It's going to be very hard to break through. So the desirable queen f5 runs impactfully into queen c7. I would love, one of my best moves would be to play queen takes h3.
Certainly.
Illegal. Too bad. So let's just get this bishop out of the way.
Okay. That certainly does it.
So that, if you take my bishop, okay, this is you can kind of see me being a little bit of a desperado here. And while I don't believe it, this is the types of things that Begim is looking to do. But how does she break through?
Well, you mentioned queen f5, queen c7, but I'm wondering if we can stop the queen from invading after queen d3 there.
Queen c5, queen f5, queen c7, queen d3.
Oh, not that far.
You want to go queen d3.
And I'm looking at d2 and c2 and e3 and f1.
Okay.
And
so I'll cover e2. I'll cover so that I can play rook e2.
Yeah, rook e2. Maybe that's the end. Like I can give the check, but rook e2, and I've got it all covered.
I'm looking. I don't see how I can. I mean, I could put my rook on e4, and but I don't have to take it.
Yeah, this rook on e8 doesn't really participate in the attack, and the rook on g6 is looking at a well-defended g3 square.
For the moment,
it would love to go to f6, chomp on f3, but
right?
Obviously that's card covered.
Okay, so let's see if we can be a little bit.
Your bishop f1 at least generates some threats, but I think white is probably okay there after king e2.
Yeah,
and
I do too. The last move. Okay, so this all makes perfect sense to me, but I'm not sure if I'm running into a dead end at the moment. I don't see where I should go.
It's being held together, yeah. Okay, maybe following that line that we had, can I try?
Up to this moment, I'm kind of down with things. Rook g6 maybe just is hitting the wrong thing. Maybe I should just be playing h4
rook
here.
h6.
And rook h6, because then I've got some pathways and g4, I'm pretty sure I will just, I'd be happy to blast. So it's possible rook g6 is a little slip.
Especially if white's defense is to go king f2 after h4, then the h file seems more impactful, even if white can sometimes play rook h1.
Right, and here I'm really doubtful about the move bishop h3. Truly, I need my queen on h3. If anything, I would be more down with this.
Yeah.
So my bishop went to, excuse me, apologies. Begim's bishop went to h3, and now it's in the way.
Yeah.
On d3 or even e4, bishop f5, bishop e4, sacrificing the bishop that way, so you can go. Let me do that now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, bishop f5 does seem like a huge, huge improvement.
Right, bishop f5. Let's say the same, the game position.
Blindly forward.
Right? I mean, this looks a lot more dangerous.
Seems like a lot.
And you were mentioning that the rook on e8 really isn't working. If you take the bishop and I go queen h3, very few immediate future rook e4, my rook will be in the attack. I think a few slips here by Begum, and now she.
Yeah, I think this is live. Queen's on c8, taking some time here, trying to find something, but we're struggling to make it work.
I am too. We are struggling, absolutely.
Well, once again, Begum's had a phenomenal tournament, but even if she wins this game, she will not catch Steven, who has secured 6.5 points.
Right.
So one more time, maybe let's check in on Andy, because I think a couple things happened.
Okay. So takes.
Rook g8, king f1.
Ooh.
You liked knight h2.
Yeah, but I think Josiah's point is that in this case, his bishop's not being harassed in offsides. So king f1,
Makes
okay,
sense.
I can support that. h5.
Okay, now I think I do like knight h2 again.
Wow. For me, I'll repeat, my philosophy about chess. Chess is a strategic game. I look across the board and say, what you got? What does black have here? Give me black's trumps.
Well, black has this open g file and is trying to attack on the light squares. h4, h3, and I'm trying to get you on the light squares. That's what I would say a trump is. Another trump would be the c4 square if I play b5.
Right.
And
okay.
I'm starting to reach if you want me to give more.
I look at this position and I say white has a wedgie in the center.
Yes.
Because I always look at the center first. And a majority on the king side. I see h5 as a defensive move. I don't see h4, h3 as anything I need to worry about. I see only one trump in the position for black. One and one trump only, and it's not the half-open g-file, it's the queen side. You've got a queen side majority.
Yeah.
And you want to play b5, and you want to play knight b6, and you want to play knight c4. So I look across the board and I say, no, you don't get anything.
Okay. So a4.
I play a4. a4 at once, just shutting you down. Please, I would beg you, please go ahead and play h4 if you like. And then after knight h2, you start to question what's your next move. Again, what I am looking to do, and I want to play it very, very much, is play f4, f5. Yeah. And I feel I'm strategically won
Seems
at that
very
point.
good.
So h5 is a result. The pawn is defended. When he played rook g8, king f1, the pawn's undefended. He had to play h5. a4 is my automatic move. Knight h2 is a very good move. Don't get me wrong. I like knight h2. Bishop e3.
That one's a little more mysterious.
Bishop e3. Okay, he's anticipating knight e6. Let me just refresh my board for a moment. So he's anticipating knight e6, and then he wants to play f3. And then the bishop is trapped.
And the bishop goes away.
Yeah, the bishop is trapped.
Still a very nice position for Andy, but he had a very nice position yesterday.
Yes.
But in time pressure,
slipped.
Down to 23 minutes here today. So we'll see how he manages it.
Yeah.
But with that, I think we should check out the A group.
Let's do it.
We checked in on this game between Theodorou and Andrew, our leader.
Let's refresh the position, because when we left it, we definitely thought that Andrew's decision to play king f8 and king g8 was wrong.
I just don't. I don't know. I don't understand.
And it is.
I don't understand.
Yeah, and it is wrong. And the question is how bad, how, can he defend, what's going on. So the last move was bishop to d7. Bishop to d7.
I still look at king b1 type moves, but I am
Right.
a little worried about the alignment of my pieces. Like
Exactly.
if knight takes e4, then bishop c6 might be a little annoying.
Exactly. There is a hanging bishop on d6, so that's always radar.
Yeah,
like,
maybe we'll just start with something like bishop c3.
Right. Bishop c3 for me is a very, very natural move because I see this this bishop under attack.
And
Also for me, a very, very natural move in open positions especially. Again, we define open positions as those positions where four or more pawns have been traded.
sure.
Then in open positions, the bishops are really valuable. So in this position, a natural move for me is bishop to d5. Let's say, just for argument's sake, you play rook c8. You can decide later if you want it, if there's a better move. King b1, and also in open positions, every tempo is exceedingly valuable.
Yeah.
So having the move, if you will, is really, really good. King b1, very, very useful move, but it costs you a tempo.
Yeah, bishop c3 maybe more direct. And by
Yeah.
the way, if you ever try something like bishop a4 now, queen g6.
That is precisely my point. I wanted to point that out a move ago. If after bishop d5 you started with a nice move, bishop a4, provoking b3, you may not be provoking b3. You may be provoking a visit, and probably you would regret seeing my queen on. So for me, bishop d5 is really a natural move. I preserve my bishop, open position, create threats, queen g6, bishop c3, really another move that a siren is calling me. I really like any moves that win tempi are good. But you had mentioned that maybe my pieces could be on a ill-fitted diagonal.
Yeah, something like that. And I'm not even sure how to take back. Maybe with the queen.
Definitely with the queen.
And if bishop c6,
Okay. Give me hockey mate.
that is checkmate. So
Checkmate is
probably
good.
Can't let that happen.
I think queen f8
queen f8 seems forced.
is forced. And here,
I mean, it's just it's the rook on h8, right? Like it's
Exactly.
always this rook on h8.
I would not like to trade queens because, again, the only time we're seeking a trade of queen is when we have a vulnerable king. If our king is vulnerable, we can trade queen. Our king is vulnerable, but in this moment, it's about the initiative, and we want to play the move knight f5. And I like...
Sign some score sheets.
Yes,
You can't
I like
defend.
this. I like this initiative for white very much. For example, if you play bishop c5, queen f4, queen e5, both attractive. The immediate g5 has an issue, and I'm posting up, as Marisa Ashley would say. Knight f5 is a dream.
If Theodorou were to win this
Win the
game,
game,
that
the
completely
chasing
opens it up. So why don't we
Right.
check in on some of these chasers? Let's start maybe with
Exactly.
Ray versus Oparin, which
Exactly.
is, of course, the two of the highest rated players in the field.
Okay.
And they're making a fight out of it.
Okay.
Had
So
an
queen's
exchange
getting
QGD with a bishop b4.
kind of, well, okay. Yeah, all right. E3.
Those are my thoughts too.
I'm
I never
trying to
really-
decide if this is a winning attempt or is it a
I think it's a let's get something weird attempt,
okay,
and
94.
succeeded in that.
In the World Championship match in 1993 between Nigel Short and Garry Kasparov, this whole line with bishop b4 was greatly explored, And they had some, really fascinating battles. While the outcome was rather one-sided, you would be shocked if you looked at those games today with an engine. Nigel had real chances in many of the games he lost.
Yeah.
So he just didn't make the most of his situation. Takes. Whoa. D5. Look at this as a hotsy-totsy move.
If you take e5, I have queen a4, and my d5 pawn stops knight c6.
Exactly.
And if you take c3, my bishop drops back.
And so that bishop that's trapped in the middle of the board is suddenly unleashed, as we have. But that's not the end of the story. Oh, it is the end of the story. I was about to say, is c5 a tricky move here? The problem is that I can always bail.
Okay, there, good enough.
Yeah, I can always. Whoa.
King f7.
King f7. If Andrew is getting, criticisms for King f8 and King g8, King f7.
This one makes more sense to me.
Does it?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because if we castle, we've abandoned the h5 square, and queen h5 is going to be a pretty big issue.
Okay.
And our f6 pawn needs defending, and...
Why does our f6 pawn need defending?
Well, maybe I'm going to do something else with my queen. I'm not sure. I would have preferred a move like c5, I think, or even bishop f5, but...
For me, development is always good. So let's just see, like, what is Ray's idea if we develop? So we're threatening, we're defending the bishop, so we're threatening to take. Yay.
I was going to think about queen d4, but I think then there's king f7. So
well,
takes, and now king f7.
I want a piece.
I thought I was taking the rook, but I am not. So, okay, bishop d4. Let's try the simple way.
Bishop to d4 sounds good. Now, okay. I mean, again, I'm a simple guy. I like development.
And if I go for queen h5,
queen e8.
Queen e8, guarding all the squares.
As a possible, it doesn't guard all the squares because f6, you can trade and take on f6.
Certainly.
It's funny, these the knight will swing. I went to a6 with the idea of swinging the knight to d3, but with the queens off the board, let's just have a look-see at that game, at that line, because it does require some calculation, right? I mean, I've lost a pawn for the two bishops. I'm trying to plant a knight on d3. Maybe as soon as you move this knight, I was really reaching for the h pawn, right? I think
it's just a wild, imbalanced game.
It's chaotic. He has played king f7. Okay, a3.
To me, this doesn't seem like the craziest move of all the moves we've seen. King f8, I just don't even understand the idea, but this one...
Okay, c5. So he didn't give up on the idea of c5. I see. The king on g6 looks... And he, the moment that
knight moved away, let's play h3.
h3. Whoa. Okay. It's an important pawn.
Certainly.
It's kind of the gateway to the king. You take away the pawn on e4, and then you suddenly start worrying about checks along this diagonal. Rook d1, queen e8, rook g1, reminding
knight f4.
There is a check possibility here. King h7. Good grief. What a... I don't like what black has done.
Well,
he
succeeded in making a mess, but I think Ray just has a lot of advantages in this position. The king is not so unsafe on e1, and black has to... Black has managed to make every square on the board weak. It's going to be a tall order to defend every square on the board. You got to defend E4, F6, F5,
C7.
C6, F7, C7, B7.
Right.
Every square on the board is just a weakness for Black. And
That's
not going to be easy to deal with.
That's rather funny. Yeah, I mean, knight C7. Let me just refresh, sorry.
And bishop E6.
Bishop E6, so that's quite
a
the challenge. And knight on E2 to C3 defends the knight. Kind of threatens bishop takes F6, if you ask me.
Yeah, queen B7 maybe is also
On tap.
on the cards, because then knight F6 is a threat.
Right. Okay, if you see a better move than queen F7, do let me know.
I like queen F7.
You like queen F7, okay. So I'm not sure if I like this or not. I take a pawn. Give me your rook.
My rook's attacked. My knight's attacked. Maybe I throw in knight takes D4.
Okay.
And that's a threat as well. It's tough to play. I think I might have lost in this line. I mean, okay, rook E8, but
rook E8, I'll probably take another pawn and just say, okay, I've kind of gotten my peshkis.
I don't want to play Black here, yes.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to play Black. We do have on the board
bishop E6 and knight EC3.
Now, I'm wondering what Grigoriy has in mind here, because this is rook D8. Let's just take a quick gander at rook D8. So I took a pawn. You got to take. I got to take. You can't take my bishop. You've got to take.
Sure.
I've got to take.
Take the bishop.
Take the bishop.
Queen F5.
Hakasito. Queen G6.
Yeah, there's also King G7. I like Queen G6 a bit better, I think.
I've got rook D, so Queen G6, rook D7. But now keep in mind, this rook is a little bit offside, right?
And if I go knight E7, just to try and...
It's funny how I hate putting myself in pins, and knight
E7 does that.
Yeah.
King H6 is there.
Okay, so knight E7, let's have a look-see.
Yeah, so Queen G6, and...
So what's the body count at the end of the day?
And this one seems like Black is getting there.
Black is getting there, as in Black is doing good?
Not like surviving. I don't know. I think this one's okay.
Sorry?
And yeah, maybe some mic issues, but we're getting there. But yeah, in this endgame, okay, if White gets the connected pass pawns, it's over. But if I can stop that from happening, I think I'm in there with a shout.
So it's how many pawns? 3?
It is technically 3, technically, but one of them's on H3 and another one's on H2.
Okay.
So let's say I play knight C6.
Knight C6 is a good move. That defends the pawn on A7. Let's say rook to G4. I want to take this guy.
And if I go rook H3.
Yay, success.
Rook H2.
Great success has been achieved. Rook E6. Knight E5.
E5.
I don't have any...
I'm trying to get at your king.
Dude, what are you attacking with?
Well, I'm going to bring in my horsey, and then I'll bring in my...
Let's try this again. What are you attacking with?
I'm going to bring in my knight. I'm going to bring in my knight. It's my knight. I'm attacking with my knight. I'm going to go knight e5.
Okay. Well, let's take a pawn, push a pawn. Technically, I'm winning, but okay.
Yeah, White's probably just winning this one, but we do have another result. I think Antipov has won his game.
Versus?
Playing Christopher Yu. So that's...
Oh no, Christopher was one of the chasing...
Big news, yeah. So one of the 4 chasers maybe has fallen.
Oh. And not another one of the 11. We had a big discussion about this yesterday, I think.
Yeah, again, so it's the knight f6 line, which we talked about a bit.
One of Bill Lombardi's favorite anti-Alapin moves in this precise position, by the way, it's important to get the right move order, is to play the move b7, b6. So his thinking was very, very simple, that since you've already played the move e5, like if you go e4 and I go b6 on move 1.
Sure.
e5 would be a bad move.
Yeah.
Because then bishop b7 and the diagonal has been, kind of open. So his thinking was that if you play b6 and you go knight c3, for example, I'll take it, and then put my bishop on b7, and then he liked to play down the c file, either quickly d6 and knight d7 or queen c7. So that was, let us say, and again, a lot of American players have made vast contributions to opening theory. Only tell me where Fischer's name is,
Yeah.
Tell me where Lombardi's name is. Bill Lombardi won the World Junior Championship with a perfect score. He led the world student team to the USSR, St. Petersburg, played board 1, beat Boris Spassky on board 1.
That's pretty good.
And won the gold medals.
Yeah.
Tell me where Lombardi's name is associated with any of
he wasn't writing the Russian books.
He wasn't writing the Soviet books. That's exactly what it was. Okay, so we've got a fairly standard, I want to say, Alapin h4.
Doesn't seem like things have gone wrong yet.
h5. Okay, big pause here, because this is a very big, a key moment. If I play h6, I'm assuming that Christopher was fearful that there would be an immediate battery, and then with the pawn on h6,
it's tough to defend against.
You can't play g6. So a big moment. Christopher allowed h6.
Maybe he had to. Like, it's not fun, but...
By the way, very, very important principle here. Be happy. Just, take that guy. You've got an exchange. You give it up in exchange for a very, very powerful bishop and a pawn. And I'm sure Christopher would have been...
all over that.
All over that. Yeah. H6, therefore, was played. G6, bishop E4.
Stepping out of the potential sacrifice.
Yeah. Now, the problem is this pawn on H6 really does,
It's at the neck.
Edward Gufeld described this as a viper, ready to bite, and I think it's very hard to translate some of an open mouth viper. There you go.
All right.
Yeah. So it's like, no. That's way too slow. Way too slow. So
yeah, I would have expected like move the knight somewhere, double the rooks, that kind of thing. But
okay, the problem with moving the knight somewhere is white is ready to go bishop e4, bishop to g5 type of things. I'm thinking that you've got to move your king. You've literally got to move your king. So rook d7. rook d8. And when the time comes, you just get on your tracksuit and you just go, let's go. I don't like queen c8.
Yeah, I'm not sure I quite even understand what he was going for. I guess bishop ace. No, it's.
To my mind, white has achieved a great deal. The trade of the dark square bishops has been very, very helpful to white, and now we're seeing white.
Yeah, knight g4.
It's not
knight
just
f6. Oof.
It's not just the g7 square. It's also the e5 square, and Christopher is just way too slow. Queen b1. Now that's. I mean, I understand the queen is attacked, and you want to move the queen out of the way, but putting the queen in front of the rook, queen c2, queen f3.
It's kind of odd.
Okay, queen b1. And we're in. I mean, that knight is a Thor. This is why he put his queen on b1. He wanted to challenge the d file. So this is what I've always considered the Norse god, god of thunder, Thor. That knight on f6 is just, electrical bolts are going through Black's encampment here. And wow,
I mean,
okay.
You just can't cope with your king stuck on h8 forever.
Sorry for Christopher, but unfortunately, he really didn't put up much resistance, and he just kind of went down in flames. I mean, rook here, and you're playing a piece down.
On our DGT feed, we don't have the result, but I believe the game has ended. And Christopher resigned here, but
ooh,
it's a sad one.
Yeah, another one of our chasing pack players.
Yeah, so of course, two of our chasing pack, Ray and Grigoriy, are playing each other.
Right.
Christopher Yu got taken out by Mikhail Antipov, so that just leaves Awonder Liang as the last person potentially able to catch Andrew Hong.
Right. Let's jump into the game of Awonder Liang and Benjamin Bach for just a moment. And this is excuse me, that was the table. A Kali system. And there was one guy, and he was just absolutely, absolutely amazing. And his name was Artur Yusupov.
Yeah.
And Artur Yusupov was like a 4-time candidate. And there was only 2 guys in the world that ever stopped Artur. And they were Anatoly Karpov and Garry Kasparov.
You're pretty good.
And everybody else, basically, Jan Timman stopped them once, but boy, he was a force to be reckoned with. And what he did was very, very interesting. He just loved to play b2, b3, bishop b2, castles, d takes, knight e5, and he would checkmate you.
Yeah.
And he checkmate you really, really often. And he was like the only guy in the world. And if you check out his games, and when he won his games, it looked like the smoothest thing on earth. It was like Michael Jordan dunking a basketball. There was no effort behind it. I mean, he just went and he did it. And here we're seeing Awonder Liang pulling a Harry Nelson Pillsbury attack.
He's coming for him. Knight e5, f4, queen f3, g4, g5, bishop 8. Go, go, go.
Go, baby, go.
And, well, that's just a pawn.
He decided that, you know what, the attack's nice, but a pawn's a pawn.
And kind of gave the pawn back there. And then got it back, and then gave it back, and...
Are we enthusiastic about it?
Yeah.
There's some weeping going on here in St. Louis as we kind of were getting ourselves all enthusiastic, and we got an ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
And then Black even gets to fix the structure.
Then what are you gonna do?
This shouldn't be much.
Big majorities for both sides. I kind of like white because of the bishop on with pawns on both flanks.
It's true, but this knight on e4 is just so stable, and
it's an anchored knight.
It makes Black's task a lot easier, at least.
Yeah,
And if we can imagine white ever plays the move d5, then you start to see that maybe these pawns are just frozen in place.
Yeah, there's a blockade afoot.
But now, I mean, is black ever pressing for a win? No. Black is the one defending, but I think black is doing okay.
Which brings us back to the key game, our key marquee matchup, and that is between Nikolas and Andrew, because Andrew's entering this round with a half a point lead. If he loses, and look at that rook on h8, and he could very well lose this game, that opens it up for players like Awonder, Liang, Ray Robson, and right now it looks like Ray is in kind of a pole position because I don't like Andrew's position. By the way, Andrew, two very compelling moves. Bishop c3, attacking the rook on d6. Bishop d5, preserving the bishop in an open position.
Nico chose bishop d5, and I think that looked like the better of the two,
right?
To my eyes.
Yeah, you get to, you intimate, like I may invite myself to the g6 square, rook c8, and here I like the move king b1, which was played, but I also said that in these positions, these open positions, every single tempo, the use of a tempo is so important that, Bobby Fischer was always looking for the perfect move. And I think with today's time controls, you should look for good moves, not the perfect move. But here, I think there was a key moment. This might have been
it's just
perfect.
Faster. Now queen g6 threatens two checkmates. Which is
exactly.
Pretty good.
You're threatening f7, g7. But the other reason for bishop c3 is, to my mind, I'm a pawn grabber.
Bishop takes f7.
Bishop f7 and rook takes d6. It's really strong.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a joke. Your rook would be on d6. You get to go queen g6 check.
95 too.
95 checks.
It's not so pretty.
I mean, okay, but let's not be nitpickers. King b1, very, very good.
Showing some caution, just.
And now Andrew has got to come up with some really super duper good defensive moves, and I'm all ears.
Clock's ticking. He's got 11 minutes left.
11 minutes.
Down over a half hour on the clock.
Right. Now the crazy part is if you were to put the rook on f8, I would still like white, but I would understand that, bishop e6 and you can compete.
You can imagine how we got there, too.
Right.
This one, it's like...
But with the rook on h8, interned, if you will, still in the barracks, make a suggestion, please, Caleb.
What's worse is, like, I don't even see how the rook gets in the game. Like, are we really planning, like, h5 is how we're getting the rook out? I don't...
Right, and I was saying, like, every tempo is so crucial. h5, h takes g4 is too tempy. You're not even really threatening that much. h5, knight g5 might just be you're out of business.
So, okay, let me just be sad and play...
Be sad.
It's too sad, though. It's just... I was going to say bishop e6, try and defend. But I think we might lose guys pretty quickly.
Bishop e6, try to defend. We're going to lose guys. I think that's all true.
Bishop f4 here? Is that the way?
Wow, that might even be snap, crackle, pop. Bishop f4, you're just taking advantage of the d file.
It's really not good.
It's not good. Here,
so we have bishop e6, and just rook d8.
I'm not happy at all. I think I'm just losing. I've got rook and bishop
Look
for
at bishop.
queen. I don't even have a pawn, and I have a bad king.
Yeah.
It must be lost. Queen f5 doesn't matter. It must be lost. Yeah, so bishop e6, bishop f4. I wasn't even sure how I was going to meet bishop c3, our
Yeah,
go-to
the
move
simple
as
way
well.
is nice.
But yeah, I mean, it's not intuitive. And Andrew is sitting there looking at his position and going, "What did I do? What did I do?"
Can we go to the moment where he played king f8? Just why?
I thought it was a glitch.
Transmission error or something.
Totally. I got that. I mean,
9 times out of 10, you see queenside castles, and then black plays king f8. You're like, he castled.
Yeah,
of course he castled.
Of course he castled.
But
so, a6 castles.
just like, okay, the most normal position in the world, you castle your king, you get your pieces out.
Exactly.
I don't understand what the idea is.
At all. I'm rather blown away. Again, this for me is rather standard stuff. I mean, I don't say it's pretty or whatever it is. It is just what I've seen so many Queen's Gambit declined situations call for. Oftentimes you end up sticking a knight on e4, that is with queen e7.
Yeah.
Other times you're just going a5, a4, and it's clear that white's going to get in his g5 breaks and good for him.
You'll have a game.
But this is and thousands of games have been like this. Now the other weird part that I really don't understand is when you have played the move king f8, normally speaking, you do what we call castles by hand. You play g6.
King g7.
Rook g6, king g7. And the reason why you leave your rook on h8 for a click or two is because you're afraid that white's too fast and your rook is going to be on h8. h6. The guy that you really go back to is Wilhelm Steinitz. And Steinitz said, you don't play moves like h6 because they are hooks.
Hooks?
You can play g5 and you can open up the king side.
When I did my Road to 2000 class every week at the club, I would talk every week about hooks.
Yeah. Okay, h2, h3, again, not a bad move. Everything's fine. Yeah. I prefer tucking the king in. It may happen. I
would have liked e4 here. Like,
yes.
King's on f8.
Let's go. It may happen that you can get g4 in, and you're not worried about. Yeah,
I will say though. I mean, I think Nikolas ended up in a winning position.
Yes.
Hard to be too critical of
exactly.
what he's done.
Now king g8 again. I'm happy with g4, it's a good move, but I'm happier with king b1. And then this again is kind of a self-inflicted, we have a move.
c7 on the board.
Okay, let's see if we...
so we have the try from Andrew.
Right.
Now,
okay, so like the vultures start.
Now we get to have fun again. All right.
Yes, now we get to have fun again.
So
okay.
I liked our move, bishop c3.
Indeed, who doesn't? Let's go. And let's
maybe. Okay, bishop f8. Just.
Bishop f8.
Going backwards,
just going backwards. Well. In the words of somebody immortal, you go backwards, I go forwards. Knight e5.
Bishop e6.
Very good.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. No immediate munchy, crunchy. Let me just have a quick look at this.
Take with the knights.
No immediate crunchies.
It's something. Rook h7.
I mean, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Goodness.
I don't like it, but but Andrew, you know, he's got to find something. Queen c7 was as good a move as any.
He's aiming for it. So it defends that bishop on d6, stepping out of a lot of those immediate tactics.
Such as bishop f4, what you showed.
Yeah. I mean, what black is dreaming of is this bishop e6. And let's say nothing happens, no tactics, bishop e6, we trade off a couple pieces, and then I still have a rook on h8.
Right.
And I don't know how to solve that one.
Right.
But
The other move, again, you know, bishop c3, inviting people to the party, in a kind of certain way. The bishop actually on d2 is in the party because it does look on h6. The only guy, to my way of thinking, that's not in the party is the knight on f3. We just saw a line where I went knight e5, and that was a very good thing. Let me just try another move for just a split second. Knight to d4. Okay, so the idea behind this move is kind of to stop the bishop from playing itself to e6.
yeah.
On a good day, bishop c3 and knight f5 is on my agenda.
Let me aim for the move knight e6.
Knight e6.
If I can try it.
Trading queens. Hopefully. Oh boy.
I think bishop e6 might be good enough.
Bishop e6.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh no, you just take the queen. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was leaving my knight on d4. So my point is, if you take the queen, I was going to take back with the knight actually.
And just give me a pawn and say, I'm happy to be not mated.
Yeah. Okay, it's lost though. So if I take back with the rook, I thought the issue was that I'm losing the e6 pawn now. Right?
Yes, precisely.
And
that's not a good thing.
Not fun either.
If knight d4 only gets me an ending a pawn up, then I'll go with the bishop c3 line, just because. We've got a YouTube question.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Nikolas is going to take a while there to calculate, find
himself.
Like you said, the perfect move, maybe.
Right,
But we do have a question from the YouTube chats.
Let's see.
Question for the commentators from Pranav Ratra. Have you ever experienced ELO anxiety, and how did you get over it? I think I might be better equipped for this one, yes. Your rating only went up, right?
No.
No? Well,
No.
maybe you have something.
For me, I had a slow start, then a quick ascension to expert.
Yeah.
I became expert more or less, let's say, 2.5 years into play. But then it's like, dang, that was just a ceiling.
Yeah.
And I got up to like 2190 like twice, and I dropped right back down. And then all I wanted was to become a chess master. You know, like that was going to be great in the Seattle circles that I was from. There was very few chess masters, so I thought that was just a great goal to attain. And I played in a tournament, the U.S. Open, and that was the longest tournament at the time. It was 12 rounds. Like I was used to 5-round Swiss.
12 is a lot.
12 is a lot. And I did phenomenally well. Like seriously, I think I scored like 9 out of 12, but my average opposition was 2,500.
Yeah.
So I went like literally from 2180 to 2300.
Yep.
I didn't become 2200.
Couldn't do it.
And I thought I was so overrated. I was like ridiculously overrated. And I never fell backwards. Rating, ELO anxiety came later. We didn't have what they have today. They have these, if you're the highest rated player and whatnot. And I think a lot of these players do have ELO anxiety, much, much, much more than I did. In my day, it was sort of like I wanted to qualify for the U.S. Championships, which I did by rating, but I wasn't on the bubble, and I wanted to qualify for the Olympic team.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit my first time qualifying. I actually qualified and didn't. It's like, what?
How'd you do that?
Yeah, right. I mean, like, how do you do that? So it was the 1978 Olympiad in Buenos Aires.
Mm-hmm.
And in those days, it was a 6-player team. You had 4 players and 2 reserves. Today, you have 4 players and 1 reserve.
Yes.
And I was trying for this. I wanted to be the 6th man.
All right. Get on the team. Get on the roster.
But I was in, there was like myself and 2 other players. We're on a bubble. And I sat down very, very seriously with my group of friends. And we said, the only way I could qualify for the Olympic team was to go on an 18-0 streak. I had to go in this tournament, win 4-0. I had to go in that tournament, win 6-0. I had to go in that tournament, win 5-0, and so on. And I did it.
Wow.
I went on an 18-0 streak.
It's pretty good.
And we had a big party. I don't think it was the mayor of Seattle, but it was certainly
somebody up there.
Right, who hosted a great big party. We had this great big celebration. Congratulations on making the Olympic team. In that year, the craziest thing happened. The USCF, bless their hearts, had the rating system. Mm-hmm. And the ratings came out like I don't know, like once every quarter or so, quarterlies or something of that nature. And they had bought a computer.
Okay.
And the computer they had bought, the IBM computer that they wanted was $500,000.
Yeah.
The one they actually bought was like $150,000. And it did the job perfectly well, and everything was really, really great. And the system worked great until the computer broke. Not a problem, not a problem. We'll get it repaired, replaced. The company they bought it from went out of business.
Oh.
There was nobody on planet Earth that could repair or replace the computer. And literally, it was the strangest thing in the world. The ratings were frozen. For like 7 months, there was no
supplement.
No supplement at all. And so I would call the USCF saying, hey, man, what about my invitation?
Certainly some ELO anxiety.
Let's get going. You got the reports. Yes. So we're looking. Congratulations, by the way. Very impressive results. But we can't invite you because the other guys also have results that haven't been rated.
Oh.
So I qualified for the Olympic team, didn't make it. That was rating anxiety. And then the next Olympiad, my first, was in Malta in 1980, and I was board 2. There I was trying to make the second reserve.
All right.
2 years later, I was board 2. But yes, I've had rating anxiety. You can talk to it as well.
Certainly.
Please, Caleb.
Well, I think the key is to separate how you view your chess skill from your rating.
Right.
Everybody, I think these days sort of has the wrong goal. The goal is make the number go up.
Right.
But if you focus on actually getting better, learning more, getting more knowledge, getting more tactically aware, then even if you have one bad tournament and your rating goes down, if you feel confident your skill is there, then the numbers follow. Right. It's a lagging indicator. That's what I say. You get better before your rating goes up, not the other way around.
Right. And I want to say again, in the way of the top players, they really do have rating anxiety, and I don't think amateur players should have rating anxiety. Don't get caught up on that, but rather, just as you say, your goal shouldn't be, I'm going to win 50 rating points in my next tournament. Your goal should be like, I'm going to understand this opening better. I'm going to understand the end game better. I'm going to study isolated queen pawn positions and get a better feeling for those. But thank you for the question. Let's just turn our attention for the moment to Nikolas's game.
Nikolas played a move we didn't expect, which was rook d to c1, and I don't love it, to be honest. Feels like the wrong
I think
way.
Totally the wrong way. Queen c7 and rook c1. Okay, so how can I put this in the simplest terms? rooks belong on open files. And black's rook on c8 is on an open file, bravo, but so are white's rooks too, the d file and the e file. So make your trumps work. And in this case, bishop c3 has everything to say for it.
Closes the c file, opens the d file.
Right. And, perhaps, winning sacrifices on the king side, whether it be bishop takes g7 and bishop takes f7, or, you want to play knight e5. Rook c1, why?
Yeah, because why are we playing defense?
Right.
Let's go meet the guy.
Bishop to b5, okay.
All of a sudden, kind of an awkward threat, right?
Yes and no. I mean, the problem for Andrew is a rook on h8. We just can't say that oftentimes enough. And the desirable h5, as you mentioned, Caleb, you want to open up the rook. You want to, you're getting hit by knight g5, and it's just simply too strong. So h5 doesn't work. You've got to play bishop to b5. Okay, but rook e3, and you defend the d3 square. I like that move. You may be on a good day, and
yeah, I was gonna say, I think Nikolas is trying to make some tactic work down the c file. I think where
I was looking at the king.
Yeah, we all wanted to play checkmate. But
Checkmate.
he's
Checkmate works for me.
He's trying to cook something up over there.
Okay, I still think white is all over this.
Well,
trust me.
You just can't go wrong, right?
Right.
No matter what idea you choose, you're going to be playing with an extra rook.
Exactly.
And so your idea should probably work. Because
right, you're a rook ahead. You're material to the good. That rook on h8 is not working, and actually, if you slip the bishop to d4, all of white's pieces would just be,
beautiful.
Again, the knight on f3. Yeah, I would like the knight on f5. Yeah, but in this case, rook to c3. It's great.
Yeah, I will say the other nice thing about 2 moves ago, just playing bishop c3, is it feels like we have all of the squares in our camp covered.
Right.
Right. Maybe you can use the f4 square sometime. You can put a piece there if you want. But we control d3, d4, d2, all the d file squares, all the e file squares.
Right.
We just control everything.
Exactly.
Right? And in the current position, after rook c1 and rook e3, it feels like we're struggling to keep our squares under control. Now bishop f4 might be awkward, especially if the desirable bishop c3 now might get met with something like bishop f4.
Sure.
And
here
we're leaving the center.
Yeah, we are. We're yes, and at the same time, that rook on h8 is giving us such a wonderful trump. It's like we can make a series of okay moves, and at the end of the series, we're still doing really, really good. I just don't see what black is going to do. He made a one-move threat. You defended it. Knight d4 is coming. Knight d4 is coming. Knight f5. Rook c3. It's coming. It's all good.
Black can, try and delay, make a threat, but I think you're right. They're going to run out.
Right.
And then the position speaks for itself.
Right.
Well, with that situation,
yes.
we liked Ray's position against Grigoriy Oparin.
Let's go back to it for some time.
Wow, but they found themselves. We were discussing this end game, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but probably we're not gonna actually get there. And all of a sudden, here we are.
Right down the line.
So I thought this was better news for black than some other. It felt like if pieces stayed on the board, black might just get checkmated. So I wasn't so unhappy about making our way towards some kind of endgame like this. But okay, I'm looking at it, and
I see it as
rook takes g5 just happened, and
yeah, I see this as just simply really, really, really good.
Yeah, this looks lost.
White, just that's it. Yeah. Oops.
If you pick up the queens and take them off the board, then we get that kind of endgame we were talking about. And I think black has maybe some more holding chances there. Yeah. I think probably you're right, it's just lost, but with the queens on the board, that king on f7 is not long for this world.
Exactly. I would like to play the move rook c5. So
rook c5, rook c7, and
but I'm probably more inclined to play, excuse me, where'd my voice go? Queen d7, queen b7 at this point.
So queen b7, my knight's attacked, so I'll go knight e7, I guess.
And let's say rook to g4. So just the fact that the knight is kind of pinned really takes away any chances of a counterattack. Like your knight wants to go to f3.
I'm going for broke. Queen c4. Let's let's just throw a piece in your face and hope for the best. But
exactly.
It's not really there.
Not really there, but at
well,
least
this threatens perpetual, I think.
Right. And I have to
king d2. And huge news in the B group. We'll come back to this, but Andy Woodward, we liked his position against Josiah.
We did.
And a little sooner than I expected, Andy ended up winning that game.
Yes, well, I mean, it was like, for me, Josiah really just got himself into a strategical pickle.
You mentioned knight e6, f3 was White's idea, but I didn't expect Josiah to actually allow it on the board.
And
I mean, it's a piece, right?
Well, it's a yes, it's a piece. Okay, you win. You win the d4 pawn, but it's a piece.
Yep.
What to say?
End of story, I guess. So there, if you took on f4, there was checkmate. So Andy takes on d4.
Adroitly.
Yeah.
Avoided checkmate. Actually, that just came out
of nowhere, but
yeah, right.
Just that's why we didn't take the free knight on d4.
Oops,
so takes on d4 was played instead.
Let me just do that. Takes on d4.
And
takes on e2. Okay. So he did get
snagged an exchange back, but still.
No. Two minor pieces are...
And then the pawns. Like, look at the pawns.
Oh, yes. Too many weaknesses.
Yeah, look at the pawns. Look at the pawns go. No. Rook h2 happened?
Yeah, I'm not the one making the input of the moves.
It's a strange day. Strange day at the Summer Chess Classic. But, okay, I mean, this is
winning
is lost.
For... Yeah, I mean...
Knight e3 to d5, and it's actually going to be checkmate with the pieces.
Exactly, but rook h2, yikes. Our congratulations to Andy once again. Remind our viewers what a playoff would look like.
Well, there's no what it would look like, it's what it will look like. With this win, Andy Woodward has forced a playoff in the B group against Steven Zierk. It will be a two-player playoff in that case. Which means they play a 2-game blitz match against each other. Game in 3 minutes with a 2-second increment. And if they remain tied 1-1 after the 2-game match, they will play an Armageddon game.
Sweet.
I'm not certain how the colors are determined for that, but that's a question for the arbiters, not for the commentators.
Exactly.
And so we will see that today. And it remains to be seen if we're going to see the same thing in the A group. But... Well, I talked about that ticking clock in the Alice Lee game. Time's up. The queen's on the board.
Well, let's go back to the Alice Lee game for a second.
Here we are.
Again, our congratulations to Andy for forcing a playoff. We saw the position right here, and we said, the problem for Begum is the h3 square is occupied. You got to do something. And how...
So she shows takes and rook h6. Maybe
we kind of looked at this a bit.
A signal that the rook g6 move earlier was probably mistimed.
Right. Queen c5 by Alice. Wow. Again, Alice has just nerves of steel.
Put on the gas.
I would be playing moves like rook h1 and trying to meet my opponent. Queen c. Ooh.
There's something brewing.
Okay, finally.
But Alice just A4, A5, A6, A7, A8. What's the threat?
Wow.
Show me the money. And she just makes a queen. Oh my god.
Oh no, draw.
That's 3.
Yeah.
What is this game? I mean, you've got the confidence. You're like, you've got nothing. A6, A7, A8, and then you get checked, and you're like, yeah, you got me.
No.
Could we not defend? Could we not play Rook H1 and just have like some
really
huge,
good
huge advantage somewhere? Like,
right. Yeah, just like
Here.
about here. Yeah. I was thinking we would just, take a breather. I don't know if this is really the best move. I mean, the first impressions, though, are, like this, just, cover up a little.
maybe there's this Queen F5 idea again. And now comes with 2 threats.
Exactly. Bishop G4, Queen C2. Previously, with my rook on D1, I was meeting it with rook D2, Queen C7, and here maybe it's just a timing issue. I don't have the time. That is crazy.
It felt like somewhere along the way, Alice could have paused and defended, but she made the queen.
She was determined. You got to admire
Pawn made it.
that her determination here.
A7, even after takes F3, it feels like maybe we had some idea.
Well, those are very, very dangerous threats suddenly. Queen F5, Rook H2. It could be checkmate. Queen H3 and Rook F6. No Rook F6, sorry. Check.
So
if we go backwards, we just invite check.
what if we be brave, go King E1 and King D1?
So I have at least a perpetual, right? I go back.
Yes.
You go back.
Okay.
So
I was looking at the vertical discoveries and like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to C2 and get out, but
No.
you get there.
So wow.
So here, I mean, it's just over here. King F3, Queen F5 is mate in 1, and
Yeah.
nothing else to do.
We think Begum again, very much like she's slippery. She got away against Andy.
Yeah.
And today, her attack looked like it was going to be an epic fail.
Enough for a half point.
But enough for a half point. Our congratulations
Okay.
to Begum.
Well,
a very outstanding result, too, by the way.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's enough for a norm. It probably not. 5.5 out of 9.
I don't know. That's a really good score.
I mean, it's a fantastic score, but
Right. And I don't know which norm she would be pursuing.
Grandmaster is the only one left for her.
Okay.
So
She might be just a little short.
yeah,
half a point short or so
maybe
in that case.
6.5 would have done it. 5.5, it's on the cusp.
Right.
So good result for her.
Akshat finishes with a bang as he takes down our senior champion.
We saw this weird piece sacrifice, but
With some very strange.
I mean,
Look at this complex game that is going on.
I don't believe it for a second, though, is the issue. White's knights cover the third, like the bishop. All of White's pieces are defending. It's
Hold on.
just too much.
Just a second.
Yeah.
This was just like, how many pieces am I up?
It's all of them. Like, it's just
I've got
2
4
bishops.
minors.
2 extra bishops.
Oh, well, excuse me.
It's just.
No.
I don't know what Melik thought in this
No,
game,
it
but
was
another bad sacrifice, unfortunately.
A bad sacrifice. Just turning to the game of Brewington and Irina Krush for a moment, we have a Sveshnikov. White has great squares on the queen side. Black has great squares on the king side. That move, Queen C7, that move looks slow, doesn't it, to you? Looks slow to me.
Well, it
I would,
seemed like Black was gearing up for
Rook F6.
some kind of attack. And then,
Rook G6 and bishop here, right?
yeah.
So I don't know. Let's say I just put a move on the board and you go like here, and I've got something of this nature.
Yeah, knight G3 is always going to be a threat, especially after queen G5.
Yeah.
Could be an attack.
But queen C7, why is the queen going to C7?
Well, White asked the same question. Said, you left this diagonal, I'll play
Right.
queen H4.
Okay, repositioning of the pieces there. And finally B4, okay, we got it going. Yay, we want to play C5. This is absolutely huge for White. Should he get to play C5 and rook takes E5, he would be winning strategically, and he's winning. That's it.
He's doing it.
It's game over at this point. Irina is just simply busted. Okay, she's looking at some tactics.
Trying to hold on here. Okay, the queens come off. Those guys disappear.
And that's it.
And this is live after rook
Takes D7.
D takes D7. And, okay. That's a D pawn, but how do you make it work?
Just a second. So rook takes knight here.
So two problems, queen's hanging, rook's hanging.
Right. But I have this absolutely awesome D this passed D pawn. Absolutely awesome. I'm okay with this decision.
Yeah,
I'm not
it seems like bishop
sure.
takes knight is the weird one.
Yeah, I'm not. Where did that one come from?
What if we just go rook E1?
Let's drop back. I've got a pretty nice threat here, knight to D6. Strange decision, because takes, D6, which is obviously what we want, C4, rook C5, bishop D3, rook C7. I feel good with white, but
your D pawn's a little bit better than the C pawn, but you're not breaking through, and Irina might be holding on here.
It's more of a game than I wanted. I mean, okay, I do have still the desirable rook E1, rook E7 on my agenda, but maybe this is the way.
There's also going to be a C3 idea. If we do get all the way down there, eventually, like, black might threaten C3 and take on B5, take on other squares.
How so? Show me.
So I'll start with
King.
Bringing my king. Yeah, so I'll
Good
go
decision.
And king F6.
Okay, now I pause for a second.
Yeah, now if rook E1, that's the C3 idea.
Rook E1 is the C3 idea. Got it. Okay. It's funny because this construction of the rook and the knight and the pawn is so strong. Let's say I go king up and just say your turn.
Maybe a second idea is bishop C2.
Okay, because the knight is so very good. I like that. I like bishop C2. Okay, so rook comes up. Gift me the pawn.
And I think I will. Maybe I needed to play G5. This looks a little dangerous, actually.
A little dangerous.
I'll go G5.
I think that's a very good move. I mean, it kind of sets up for bishop C2, but it keeps me honest.
I mean, it just defends my pawn. Like, it's just nice to have your guys defended.
Yeah, rook E1, C3. Again, it feels like Irina, that move, bishop takes D7, you're kind of throwing away a pretty good piece.
Yeah, I don't hate Irina's chances anymore.
Do you do this? I do. And I consciously do this because, in fact, I'm doing it all the time. So there's a training that I think you should all do. When it's your turn, you calculate. Stop.
Yeah.
That's it. When it's your opponent's turn, you think about your big plan.
You think generally.
You think in general terms.
Your turn is specifics.
His turn. So you think to yourself, how do my kings compare? How do our bishops compare? How do our rooks compare? You know, what would be a grand strategy? Oh, I've got these dark squares. I'm the proud possessor of the bishops of opposite color. Oh, I'll know. I'll bring my king up the diagonal, you know, all on the dark squares. So you have this general term. Then he makes a move, and you think, okay, can I take the pawn?
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. So in this position, after we trade, you should be comparing pieces. Like, what's my good piece? What? I look at the knight on d7. I don't see that as a good piece. I look at the bishop on c6, and I go, dang, wow, you know, like that blows my mind. That's a great piece. So trading them off wouldn't have been the first thing I want to do.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Yeah. Here, just let me. It feels like White has such an advantage that, you know, rook e1. I think that's what he played, right?
He took the knight.
Yeah, he took the knight.
Rook e1 is what I wanted. I was just like,
Right.
move the rook away. But yeah, this is some tactical ideas here.
Well, you're leveraging your
big advantage.
Your big advantage.
You might as well use it.
Right.
And
now, if you
I guess
go
knight b6 maybe, just to try and take an
Sure.
a pawn.
Okay, pause because I'm trying to understand some stuff. Let me rook d6. If you trade, I'm kind of happy. I would like to get rid of this bishop so that
And
I
then
could go
the pathway is clear.
right. Right.
So rook f8. I'll just
Rook f8. I like that. Rook
yeah.
f8.
F.
Rook f8. Okay, now this case, the knight's a little bit off. And let's see. I take, you take, I pushkin.
Just seems like a better version for White. I don't think
Keeping the minor pieces on the board,
I
right?
I don't think I'm getting away with knight takes a4.
No. I've got stuff. But yeah, this decision, knight takes d7. Anyway.
So that is actually all that remains in the B group. Once again, nothing in the B group will change our overall winner. So I think we should turn our attention back to the A group. How is Nikolas doing in his quest to take out the tournament leader?
Well, when we left it, we thought Nikolas was in the driver's seat.
And
Absolutely. So,
Andrew's down to seconds on his clock, by the way.
oh my gosh, how did we leave this game?
Rook
We left
C1,
it at rook
e3.
e3.
Bishop
Bishop
f4 I
f4.
thought might be a try, but queen f5 was played.
He's got queen takes c8 and bishop takes f7 check on his agenda. Bishop takes, whoa!
Knight e5. This is
Knight e5. Now this, I mean, Nikolas is either going for a brilliancy or
well, I mean,
knight
these
e5.
kinds of moves have
Queen takes
his
e5.
fingerprints all over them.
Bishop takes f7.
This is how he operates.
Oh, and rook takes c.
Bishop takes d2 was just played.
Rook takes
c5. Boy, it feels like it should be a winning endgame.
Yes, if you take
Takes
and take
takes
and
king
take,
f7, but we do have queen d5 to pick up the bishop,
and that's
and that one should be winning.
good enough. So we're going to go back. We do have rook c5 on the board, and Nikolas spied a combination, and it looks like he's being rewarded for good calculation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wonder if there was more, but this
This is good
endgame shouldn't be too bad, although bishop d3 is a check.
To b1.
So black says, I would rather defend with the dark squared bishop instead of the light squared bishop. So now if rook takes c5, queen c5, king f7, same tactic, queen d5 check, but black is keeping the bishop of the other color now, which
Doesn't help.
doesn't help.
It's a rook and a bishop.
Yeah.
It's a rook and bishop versus a queen and pawn. And white has a safe king. So
Yeah, so sometimes the rook and the bishop together can hold nicely against a queen, but
king
king
takes
f7
f7
is
immediately.
is allowed.
Yes. So that was.
And wait a second. If we don't win that bishop, we're
going to win the bishop.
we're down material.
No, we win the bishop. Rook c7.
Rook c7 check, king g6.
Queen.
No, okay, so I have to take.
And take.
Okay, and you win the bishop. King e6.
We still. Whoop.
Queen d5 check played first.
Okay.
So this is what I saw, but now
Queen d5 check.
now we can go queen takes d3 next, and we'll win the rook with check.
Sorry.
Or, unless you go king e7. So if you go to f6 or g6, my point was I'll just take the bishop on d3,
Well,
queen d6 check.
Yeah. No king g6
Yeah.
because then you would take, and here you.
And okay. king
So
f6
we're
is on the
looking
board.
at this move, and then the idea is we get the same ending that we
wanted. So he starts with queen d6.
Oh, he wants to
and-
take the rook.
And he does.
Yeah,
And he wins.
and he wins.
Okay.
That's
What's better than rook and bishop versus queen? Two bishops versus queen. Okay.
right. Yeah, queen d6 check. That. And
so
is that the win?
yeah,
he-
queen d7's on the board, king back to f6, and yeah, no back rank mates if you run out of rooks.
No major pieces, no back rank mates.
And okay, I mean that means it truly is anybody's tournament here. So if either Ray or Grigoriy win,
Wins,
they
they-
will leapfrog Andrew, not just
No
the playoff.
playoffs.
They will be clean in first place.
Exactly.
Once again, Christopher, you, another one of the Chasing Pack, unfortunately lost against Antipov.
So he stays a half a
So-
point behind Andrew in case Andrew
It
loses.
becomes essentially a three-horse race between Ray Robson, Grigoriy Oparin, and Awonder Liang. If any of them can win, then it's their tournament.
Let's have a look because we're going to write this one off.
Yeah,
and
we're
gonna say
anticipating-
Nikolas
yeah, this
has
game
got
won't
this
last
game
much longer.
in the bag.
And Awonder Liang has drawn his game, so that brings him on the level with Andrew Hong.
Right.
So that also introduces now, if Ray and Grigoriy draw, we will have a four-way playoff for first
Right.
place.
And
Which is,
this was that peculiar, that great anchor, the great knight that was anchored, and
yeah,
they
it
got
became a
themselves-
rook endgame, and not a controversial one, I would say.
Right.
I wonder, maybe ending up on the defending side, but managed to do it.
What? Did they actually play? What?
Okay, this is some silliness.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That was very peculiar. The last, somebody might have been annoyed with the other opponent. I wanted to go to Ray.
Yeah, so this is the key. If Grigoriy finds a way to hold this position, he finds himself in a four-way playoff for first. If Ray manages to win, no playoff. Ray is our Spring Chess Classic champion. By spring, I mean summer.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, but maybe there's a chance. There's a chance for Grigoriy. Is there a chance?
Well, knight e5. Let's say I tried just to take the queen. Then my rook is fully trapped.
Correct.
So I'm not playing queen e6, which means, well, kind of no matter what I do, my rook's trapped.
Kind
Is it
of.
not?
Right.
I can go queen b7 and get out with a check.
This is not what I think. Oh, sorry.
Ooh.
Blindness. Ooh.
Yeah, that'll do it.
For the moment, you thought you had the G7 square protected by
Now
two
you
pieces.
can trust Ray to see those without
Yeah,
thinking,
he is
so.
a puzzle rush champion.
It is Black's turn here, and what is the end game? If I take on d5, rook takes d5, and I just want to come with knight to e5.
I assume it's lost.
Yeah.
I mean, if your bishop,
H3?
yeah, if your bishop were on b2, I'd say there's some kicking chances with.
Yeah, maybe I'll start with knight d3 actually, just to try and keep you out of. Oh well, then rook g4 again.
Yeah, this is the standard stuff I was doing some turns ago.
I need the knight on e5. I'll take h3.
The take h3.
And the reason why I wanted knight d3 is I was a little worried about rook c1 here, but maybe it's not a problem.
Rook c1. Rook c1.
And I didn't have a line in mind. I just thought the rook's getting it, but
will line up.
Yeah, maybe there are more combative tries.
Yeah. Here, again, I just feel it's technical. I just want to see the current position because the current
Queen's on
position...
d5.
Oh, sorry. Is, pause. If, knight e7, rook g7 is really amazing. Knight e5, rook g7, equally amazing, right? Like, you want to have your king on e6, so you're out of this pin in knight e5 and knight f3 is glorious. I just don't see you're doing it. I don't see. Actually, rook g7's a threat.
Yeah. So because of that, he does actually take on d5.
He does. And here, for me, I take a deep breath and say, what if I take away this guy? Because I'm afraid that if white ever plays b4, gets the a6 pawn, then it's two
could do it.
Connected pass pawns, and I'm
So
gone.
My worry was your rook g4 idea. That's why I was trying to find some way to start with knight e5, just so I can keep a hold of this e4 pawn. Because, okay, here rook takes g4 is like terrible, so
Well,
I think...
this is actually, anytime I have a pass pawn, it's sort of like I got counterplay. I mean, yeah, you got two connected pass pawns, and yeah, I get that I'm losing, but okay, just
Yeah, this is a good point because the bishop can,
on a good day,
come back somewhere, still keep an eye on the queenside pawn.
Yeah, I have a passer, and you haven't won this pawn yet. Okay, your king could make a beeline, but
Yeah, it's not so easy
intriguing.
there.
It's an intriguing situation.
And bishop b2 is
Take
the
on
choice.
b2, and again, rook g4. That bishop takes a3 stuff.
You can't really. I guess you can play a4 if you want to hold on to that guy.
Well, no. The deep breath I was taking is because I'm worried that rook d6, rook b1, and rook b7. I'll get myself mated.
Well, it takes some time to get there.
Yes, that's the good news for black, is it takes white some time. I suspect we're going to see rook g4. Are the players in time trouble, Hart?
Well, Ray has left himself with a comfortable 5 minutes.
Wow, a very, very, very comfy 5 minutes as we check in on the clock. We can really see the tension. This is for first. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, Ray, with his time ticking down just under 5 minutes here. Grigoriy has about 15 left. And yeah, we're looking for the move rook g4. Rook g4 is what we're anticipating. The maybe more aggressive try, maybe like rook d6 or something.
Rook
and
d6
playing for
and king.
some kind of checkmate.
Yeah. And I remember very vividly, I was having very, very close with Bent Larson.
Yeah.
And during the tournaments in California, they were the Lewis Statham tournaments, Lone Pine, California,
Okay.
on the foot of Mount Whitney. They would have these tournaments. It were Swiss tournaments, but you had to be 2,300 and above. to play in the tournament. And then A4, by the
A4
way.
was the choice, trying to hold on to the pawn.
2,300 and above, and Louis Statham, he sponsored this tournament in his hometown of Lone Pine, California. And I'm talking with Bent Larson, who won the tournament, and I'm sitting there going, you know, I'm dreaming of getting my Grandmaster norm.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, so that's ridiculous. What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. I said, dude, I'm trying to get my Grandmaster title. No, that's you're already strong enough to be a Grandmaster. What you should be thinking about is winning tournaments. That's what it's about, Yasser, is winning tournaments. It's not about your Grandmaster title. That'll come. But focus on winning tournaments. And this is what it's about right here, right now. This is it. For these two players, the two top seeds in the tournament, thanks to Andrew's loss, boing, the door is wide open. One of them's going to walk through. Or there's going to be a four-way playoff.
Four-way playoff. That could be interesting. So once again,
those things is going to happen.
Yeah. So in the B group, we'll have a two-way playoff, which is a two-game blitz match between the two players. If we have 3 players or 4 players, well, I guess right now it's 4 players or bust, right? So if we have a 4-player playoff in the A group, they will play a round-robin blitz tournament, essentially.
Exactly.
So it'll be 3 rounds. They'll get a shot at each other player.
Crack.
And yeah, not double rounds, so they don't get a white and a black against everybody.
Oh, man.
We do have to eat dinner at some point.
Where's the fairness?
Yeah.
What about the fairness factor?
So that's what we're in store for if they make it there. So after A4, 2 moves in mind.
Sure.
One is knight E5, one is rook H3.
Okay.
I like rook H3.
You like rook H3. Why do you say 2 moves? If you're going to play knight E5 and you're going to put your knight here, I'm assuming that the fork's not that. You can do it this way.
Yeah.
And that's a tempo against the rook. But rook takes, I mean, essentially, whenever you get into these kinds of endings, it's like you grab while the grabbing is good. Now, you took a pawn.
Take what you can get while you can get it.
Now, I'm assuming this is Ray's desire is to get here. So let's not give you what you want. Let's pick a fight.
Okay, I can't go to C5. I can go with check, or I can go with rook D6. I think I'd like to try D6.
Okay. So the first part was good. We've got so rook takes H3, rook G4, knight check, and then I get to check on H2.
Yeah, with the threat to the F2 pawn, right?
Yeah. I'm a little bit worried about stuff. Let's chill.
Okay, I'll go to B6.
Okay. So
Without a threat.
without a threat. So check.
And E2 seems like the best square.
And now the desirable.
And where do we land? If I go rook G4.
Take.
And rook takes E4.
And that's a big pawn.
And I
I
do
just
not
caught.
have the power to take your bishop
Right.
because of knight G4.
Precisely. Now, a moment ago, my bishop was on B2, and then you would have had rook F4 check.
Yeah.
That was why I interpolated.
So what's
I included bishop E5.
where do we land there after rook C4? Is that endgame also?
Rook C4. I fought my way to the best position I have. I'm not sure that I'm not.
How to evaluate?
I think it's better for white because the rooks are really dangerous. My king is in a little bit of a funky jam. And for example, if I play knight check, and again, I'm just seeing, you know, of course you'd rather have two connected pass pawns like f2 and e3, but I see it as a two-result game here. I mean,
well, yeah, definitely. I'm thinking like black might be able to hold that kind of thing, though.
Right? Okay, so he did, by the way, after a4, which is a strange move for me, knight e5, king d1. He is he didn't go for the knight b4 business. He went for this.
Yeah, and we were always playing king e2, but king d1 is an interesting choice because now, you know, it felt like your king was a little bit boxed in there on e2, like something, you know, we didn't actually make much against it, but it felt like there could be some sort of trap there.
Issues.
So king d1 also aims to just sort of leave and go to the queen side, maybe help escort our very much alive a pawn down the board.
True that. And again, the times are 11 minutes to 3. The players do not get any extra time. They're playing on their increments throughout now.
So if you play the move rook takes h3, do you just lose a piece? Or maybe not. Maybe king e6. So king c2 I thought was potentially a threat. And maybe you have king e6 to save your bacon, but you're losing at least a pawn. Yeah.
And again, the problem as I see it, like, for example, if we go here, the problem as I see it, we're not losing a pawn per se. It's like our king could really end up in some, you know, insufferable just checkmates. Like, you know, I got to go here, and whoop. It's really fast. It's really fast, too. That,
it sure is.
who did that the other day? I think it was Irina. Irina got the two rooks, bullied her bishops. I think it was against Steven
Zierk, yeah.
Yeah. Steven.
She had a great endgame.
Yeah.
2 bishops, extra pawn, and then the rooks mated.
And then it wasn't so great.
So I think...
What? King?
Yeah, knight d3 was played. And
then king E2.
back to e2 rather than... We're thinking he had c2 in mind. But
I think Grigoriy has made great progress here.
that was a weird little shuffle. I guess you couldn't go to c2 because of knight b4. But why do we go to d1?
That's a mystery that we'll have to ask Ray about later. Any case, 10 minutes to 3 minutes. King e2. So, well, let's grab while the loot is available. Takes. Now
Seems
here,
very
remember...
reasonable to me. We were thinking rook g4.
Remember
And
last time...
your bishop's not an e5 now.
Right. Knight takes f2, rook f4. Oh, but then there's king e6. Ah! So it's...
But there's rook f5.
Even better.
Yeah.
Rook f5. Nice. That's it. That's a winner. So, apologies, I do this refresh. Just, first of all, because I prefer the colors of the screen.
Yeah, I don't like the analysis.
I don't like
muted,
the analysis.
but
Yeah, that's the first thing. But the second thing is I like to see what the players have actually done. So we're looking at rook h3, rook g4, and we kind of think that white's for choice. And that's been the case for quite some time. I mean, Ray has definitely been in the driver's seat for most of this game. But is it winning? That's a question. And Grigoriy is taking quite some time there, as we see the playing hall view.
Yeah, he's got the time to spend. I actually really don't like Black's position after rook h3, rook g4. I thought in other versions we were a little bit safer.
Fair, fair, fair.
because once this e pawn goes away, all of our pieces are floating. Like the e pawn is holding our knight together and it's holding our bishop together, and
it's the glue.
once that goes away, it's going to be tough.
There's no glue.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to go rook h8.
Sure.
So the idea is to meet rook g4 with the rook e8 and just close our eyes and say, okay.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it is slow, but there is a pawn. This is also, I'm kind of worried about nasty things happening. My king feels so, black's king feels so vulnerable when these rooks have these open files.
Maybe we can improve on the rook h3 line. So rook h3, rook g4. Maybe I can throw in a king e6 and ask you to move somewhere.
Okay, I'll just pick a square.
And it's even worse now. It's
because now I'm taking with the check.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see it. I think we might be, Ray might have found a clever way to put black in an awkward spot. Like we could try knight e5 back, but then what was it all for?
Let me try again.
Rook h6.
Rook h6. So at least in this case, I'm doing a little bit of a cover up
Rook
job.
g4.
Okay.
What else?
So now I pause for just a second because my choices, if I can put it like that, are rook e6 and rook f6. Let me just start with rook e6 for just a moment and just say, okay.
Let me ask you more of a positional question.
Please.
Is the move f4 desirable for white? Because I think we have that choice here, and you cannot capture en passant.
No.
Okay.
I think, but for specific reasons, not for general reasons. And in this case, if I ever get rook c2 check, then maybe the pawn on e4 is a good thing, right? So here, I think the problem is that for the first time, I'm really coordinated.
Yeah.
The knight, the bishop, the rook, and that's a bad sign for white.
So I liked what you were pointing out, which is you're tethered to e4.
Right.
You're kind of tethered to a6. What if I just start pushing my h-pawn? Just h4, and we'll send things forward.
Okay. So for me, my problem was that my bishop on b2, which had been doing this duty from a long time ago, is misplaced. And I've got to put my bishop in a better square, and I've got to unleash my rook. So I will play bishop a3.
h5.
I will play bishop to d6.
And if I go h4?
Yes.
Just send the other guy up the board as well?
Right. Now I get, I think, under the best circumstances.
I mean, I'm still to take.
Yeah, no, seriously, I may still be losing this because my knight is so badly placed. I may still be losing this, but at least I feel like your pawns are not, how do I say it? They don't have that completely I'm dead type of feeling to them. Yeah. My bishop isn't great. I would love it to be anchored.
Yeah, I can throw in a tempo with like rook e d4.
And that's a kind of an important tempo because, my dream, of course, is to get my knight back into civilization. My knight is on F. It's like my pieces have gone to weird squares. B2 to take away the pawn on B2. F2 to take away the pawn on F2, but the knight's not great on F2 and the bishop's not great on B2.
Yeah, I think it's on the verge of collapse for Grigoriy, which maybe explains why he's spending the rest of his time here. He's calculating all these lines, and probably like us, he doesn't much care for them.
Well, again, like it or not, I think rook h6 at this moment is more or less forced. I
Yeah.
don't see any benefit to knight c1.
The rook h3 line is very concrete. You lose e4, and you lose the game.
Yeah.
So rook h6 has the benefit of, maybe it's just lost, but you don't calculate to the loss.
Right.
Maybe.
You're hoping for rook c6 and rook c2. You're defending the pawn on a6. You end up defending the pawn on e4.
Yeah, just 3 minutes left
3
for
minutes left.
Oparin.
And there you see both Ray. I'm wondering whose heart is beating faster at the moment as the clock ticks down. And for the first time, Ray
Up on time.
is up on the clock.
That'll be our second screenshot for the tournament, where Ray is
Yeah.
ahead on the clock.
Yeah. Well, our viewers will need proof that it actually happened.
Yes.
The historical book, the history will remember.
Yeah, and down to 2 minutes and 22 seconds now for Oparin. And you have to play a move. You can't give yourself no time to do the rest of the game.
And that's a practical thing. I would have recognized the reality of the situation, that I'm suffering from a material deficit, and that my ally is the clock. Ray had 3 minutes. About 10 minutes ago, I would have played rook h6. I would have just said, okay, rook h3, rook h2 is a dead end.
It'd be nice if it worked, but it doesn't.
It's a dead end.
Somewhere else.
So it's time to play rook h6. So like one of the questions you had is, like, again, maybe this is not the absolutely best time for it, but you said, should I play f4?
Yes. And yeah, actually, okay, you finish your thought, but...
And it's just like one of those things is that in principle, yes, you would like, your f2 pawn is backward. So that whenever I have a rook f6, so the answer is yes, that you would like the pawn ahead and not to be backward, but it's always this rook c6 where, if you can't play rook takes e4 immediately, the rook c2, like this position, you can make some argument that I'm winning. I've got 4 pawns against the bishop or something like.
Not so much.
I'm not buying it. Like that's not an easy sell for me.
Oparin's made his choice.
And it was.
Let's see what it was.
Ta-da!
Bishop c3.
Bishop c3.
It's legal.
It's legal.
But
that's what Ben Feingold would
it
say.
doesn't stop rook g4, does it?
No, it doesn't. Rook g4.
And
Ray's ready.
He's ready with
ready. I mean, he was thinking, dude, my threat was rook g4. How does bishop c3 handle rook g4?
Rook g4 on the board.
It doesn't. And very quickly something happened.
Yeah, let's get the live. So rook g4 and Oparin played king e6. And now there's no rook a5. This was the point of bishop c3, is you can't reply to king e6 with rook a5 anymore.
No me gusta.
But the rook on h4 is hanging.
I think this is really a bad attempt, scarily enough. So for example, I go rook g5. You cannot take here. This is check.
Right.
And the crazy part is I pick up 2 minor pieces for the rook on g5.
Yeah.
So you have to take, and there you've done me a solid.
Yeah.
A real solid favor.
I was also thinking of some f3, but let's just stay with the game. They're making moves quickly. They have to. Ray's reaching. Rook d8 is his choice. And again, rook takes e4 is check.
Yeah, rook d8 is reasonable. I like the rook on g5 because I wanted to kind of go h4, h5, h6, kind of keep the king. But the nice part about the rook on d8 is it does have the luxury of checking and hitting the e pawn or going to the a8 square. And Ray has undoubled
on the board.
You never seen 2 doubled h pawns become, like.
Yeah, this is It's a rare sighting.
These doubled H pawns were the weaklings,
Yeah.
and suddenly they're really powerful.
So black needs some kind of dark squared blockade, but if you take the A pawns off the board, you're still lost.
Yeah.
But you can at least coordinate your knight and bishop together, try and guard some dark squares. But now if you commit to stopping these pawns, let's say you had a knight on f3 and a bishop on g5, and you can say you can do whatever you want, but I'm gonna guard these dark squares. It's a try. But now if you even go for that, it's rook a8, rook a6, and the game's over.
I once had to take the A pawns off the board, and I ripped on d3.
Yeah.
Rook takes d3, and I played against Bent Larsen four pawns against the bishop, and it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
It was not even close. Funnily enough, yesterday there was
four
game,
pawns against two bishops.
And it wasn't even close. Yeah. The two bishops just destroyed the pawns. They're just blocking the pawns really, really, really easy. And in this case, the four connected pass pawns, the bishop there had no chance whatsoever. Takes on g4, takes on g4. We saw knight c5. Okay, big pause here for a moment because I start thinking about push, push, push. Right?
Yeah, so Oparin's going to try and take this a4 pawn and make it back in time.
Right. And that's the big question. Are you getting back? So let's go, right? h4.
Rook c8 played, and I was actually wondering about this move. You can't really take on a4, but you can go king d6, but that's a step further. Right?
Yes, apologies. I forgot that knight takes a4, rook c4 wins a piece.
So maybe bishop b4 is on tap.
Okay, but
now, again, you're leaving
the zone.
Yeah. Bishop b4 played.
Okay.
And now I think you're right. I think it's time. We can just go h5 or h4. We can play maybe a move at a5 as well if we want to be just
gnarly.
Tiny extra bit annoying.
Gnarly. I'm going h4 here.
Yeah.
I'm going h4, and I'm assuming a5 just to anchor some pieces for a moment.
Yeah.
h5, and I'm assuming knight takes, and h6.
Yeah.
I'm really fast. No, I think this
is h4 is on the board.
I think that this is just too fast for Ray. And h4 is on the board?
h4 on the board.
Somehow, why is the relay that slow?
The DGT science. Yeah. But, yeah,
follow the science.
It's Oparin's turn. And... Okay, he did all this to take the a4 pawn. Surely he'll follow through, whether with a5 first or not. But
so we are expecting h4, or we think h4 is on the board. The problem I had with knight takes was rook a4, rook c4,
e4 is.
E4 is.
Oh, but I have check.
Sorry.
Knight c3.
Knight c3 check. Oh,
and
h4.
h4 played.
Okay, so knight takes a4, rook c4, knight c3 check, king d2.
Knight d5.
Knight d5, king. I don't know. d1? I don't know if bishop e1 was an issue or not.
Yeah, king e5. I think white's still winning, but...
It's a little tricky. So h4.
Oparin agreed with you, played a5.
And we expect Ray to push him. Push him, baby.
Absolutely.
Let's get it. Let's get going. Push him. I mean, it's all about getting up the board as fast as we can.
And h5's on the board. Back to Oparin's side. And, this starts to be the point where the writing's on the wall.
Yeah.
There's no more mystery.
It's sheer calculation and just, getting getting the pawns.
So let's start with king f6.
Okay.
And we'll make an attempt here.
King f6, and let's go. Push.
And king g6.
And push.
And now, if I convince you to go far enough, no, knight e6, you have rook c6.
That was my
it's just
intention.
over.
Yes, that's exactly right. Knight e6, rook to c6. Hate those pins.
Yeah.
And then my next move will be h7.
So I'll take on a4.
Take on a4. So check.
King h7.
Check.
King h8. And
push.
Checkmate. Yeah,
Is-
it's not looking there.
No.
And we're heading this way. I think Oparin did play king f6, and Ray has played h6, and that's just resignation. And with that, it's official. I saw the handshake. Ray Robson is our 2024 Spring Chess Classic A Group champion without a playoff.
Wow.
Tough to see coming at the start of the round. He was in a pack of 4 players chasing for the lead. Andrew Hong was our clear leader, but now Ray has done it. With that win, the #1 seed becomes the
Our champion.
#1 finisher. Champion Ray Robson. Huge congratulations to him.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that first place prize of $5,000 plus the winner's bonus, $500 for winning it outright. Ray Robson is our champion. And checking my little fact sheet here, I know
Please.
we've seen Ray Robson play in a number of our classic series. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is his first victory.
Wow, it's a long time in coming. I mean, he's definitely a deserving champion, and his game today was especially good. I mean, sometimes, you got to save your best for last. And
Yeah.
these last rounds, these championship rounds, that's what it's all about,
Yeah.
the making of a champion. And
Ray sort of had the slow and steady approach this tournament. He never... This is the first time he's been in the lead, I think.
Andrew started with 2 wins.
It's hard to beat that.
Yeah,
So
and
Ray's
then
sort of been in the background,
Yeah.
slowly accumulating those points, and then at the very end, defeats Oparin, leapfrogs into the lead. Well,
For those of you who are joining us late, Andrew lost a game to Nikolas, and he did it in the strangest way. He was black and got a completely normal, safe position of a Queen's Gambit decline and went King f8 out of the blue and followed it up with King g8. And
inscrutable.
I was certain this was a relay error.
Yeah.
I was like, we had in the old days, literally they were called board boys. They would come to look at, they would light down, and then they would write, and then would make the moves, and there would oftentimes be a relay.
Oh, yeah.
And the International Board Boys Federation, that was started by Jeroen Vandenberg, and I'll think of his name in a moment. Jeroen, eventually, he was the board boy for Tata Steel. Jeroen Vandenberg was. And he became the tournament director. You got to start at the bottom.
Yeah, working your way up.
Right. Andrew went down, opened the door. Christopher Yu, he was in the chase, but he lost.
He had black this round and just had kind of a rough game, it looked like, where ran into some attack by Antipov. So.
And then Awonder Liang.
Best he could do was a draw.
Right, he was up against Benjamin. It looked like he started with great ferocity.
Yeah, it started off going for him, but fizzled out a little bit. So.
And then Ray took down the other chaser, Grigoriy, to take
I
clear
believe
first.
maybe we can check the B group. I think all of the rounds or all of the games in this final round have ended. Brewington did go on to win this game. We thought Irina was coming back, but Brewington found a way forward.
Right.
Yeah, h5 check, and now king f6 is rook f4, and if you take the h pawn, I'll take f7, push d7,
And
push d8,
goes.
and that's the end.
That's the end.
So maybe we can check in on our final standings if we have them, because I think all of the games have completed. Of course, huge asterisk, there's still a playoff to come.
Exactly. We'll keep you posted on that. We do expect it will be quite shortly.
Yeah, quite soon. I'm not exactly sure when, so we might go on a brief break and come back with the playoff. But do we have the standings to check out before that?
Sure, let's do that. And again, just as to remind you, in the B group, we're going to have a playoff of 2 games of 3+2 blitz chess, essentially, between Stephen and Andy.
Yeah.
To determine the $500 winner bonus.
All right, sweet. Well,
No standings.
No standings, but let me just check on our chess.com feed here. So Andy Woodward finishes along with Steven Zierk at the top of the B group, and in
with
joint
a 6.5 score.
with 6.5 out of 9.
Right.
Yeah,
And
very.
I think that, I mean, Andy is a GM elect, but that 6.5 out of 9 might be just enough to give him another norm.
4th, 5th, or I don't know how many norms he's collected at this point, but enough. And in joint 3rd place, I believe we're going to have Raja, Brewington, and Begum all on 5.5 points. Her last draw there just got posted as we were speaking.
Nice.
So Begum, Brewington, and Akshat, or sorry, not Akshat, but Raja, all with 5.5 in joint 3rd place.
Right.
And then over in the A group, we have one leader, not just a leader, one champion, Ray Robson atop the pack, and in joint 2nd place, Awonder Liang and Andrew Hong, who again just stumbled at that last moment.
Yeah, big shout out to Awonder. Although he took 2nd, it's always been considered a great success to be undefeated.
Yeah.
Undefeated. That looks like they're just getting the board ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's still Ray and Grigoriy.
Oh, pardon me. It sure
discussing their game a little bit, talking about where all the action happened. But I believe we're going to take just a brief break, and we will come back with the playoffs to determine the B group champion. Will it be Steven Zierk, the established Grandmaster here to represent, or the youngster, the young Andy Woodward on 6.5 points, needs to overcome one last opponent to claim the crown.
Stay tuned. Join us as we'll take a break, and we'll see you as soon as that playoff game gets underway.
The top women's tournament returns. The best female chess players converge in the chess capital of America, St. Louis, Missouri, for the 4th edition of the Cairns Cup. The tournament kicks off on Wednesday, June 12th, with Ultimate Moves, a fun and casual exhibition event featuring women's world chess champion, Grandmaster Nona Gaprindashvili, and the Cairns Cup field. From June 13th through the 23rd, the Cairns Cup players will compete for an increased $200,000 prize fund. This tournament features 10 of the top female chess players in the world, including returning Cairns Cup champion, American Anna Zatonsky, former world champion Alexandra Kosteniuk, and 14-year-old American and rising star Alice Lee, the 2024 American Women's Cup champion. It's one of the most decisive classical tournaments in chess that you won't want to miss. Catch all the action on the St. Louis Chess Club YouTube and Twitch channels.
The following is a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club.
Hello, and welcome back to the grand finale to the 2024 Summer Chess Classic. Again, I'm Caleb Denby. This is Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan, and we are here to bring you the playoffs in the B group. So it's going to be very, very exciting. The young Andy Woodward, Grandmaster-elect, takes on Grandmaster Steven Zierk. These two players have been having a phenomenal event, finished on 6.5 out of 9 in the classical tournament. And now we'll see how they fare in a Blitz playoff.
Unfortunately, we're going to be watching the games. We won't be able to give you an analysis board because we don't have a DGT connection for that. But we'll be over. We'll be over.
So We're going to be covering the games, looking at the live feed from the playing hall. We won't necessarily have the DGT board for you, but Andy Woodward and Steven Zierk, if we check out these standings, finish atop the leaderboard with 6.5 points, a clear point ahead of the rest of the field. And I'm really excited to see who's gonna prevail here. You know, typically you think Blitz favors the young, but I've seen Steven play some Blitz, Yasser, and he's somebody to keep an eye on for sure.
Well, indeed, I have not seen either Andy or Steven at the Blitz, but normally speaking, yeah, the Blitz favors the young, but it's about that holding your nerves, right? You're being calm under stress. We'll see if Andy had a little wobble under stress.
Andy let some points slip in time pressure, and I think we're trying to get our cameras back in the playing hall.
Oh no!
Which is
very
something
important.
we definitely need because we don't have the DGT feed, but
exactly.
we'll get those back up.
Otherwise, it's guesswork on ours.
Yeah.
Our part.
I mean, we can shout out some moves blindfold if you want.
Right.
But
Okay.
maybe we can just take a look one more time at how Steven and Raja made this draw, because we didn't take too close of a look during the broadcast. But this is the draw that secured Steven at least a spot in the playoffs.
Right.
And it was this weird Queen D3 type of open Sicilian. This time he goes for an early Knight D5, Bishop G5. And, you know, you think last round the leader made a quick draw with the white pieces. Probably it was all planned, but they played a real game here today.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah.
And this move F5 takes. Steven did end up capturing the pawn, but boy, I tell you, there got to be almost a circus-like trapeze act that White was on here. Takes. Takes on E2 is hanging.
So you have Bishop C4, like threatened, Queen takes G6, but there's Knight A5, and then the big sacrifice.
And the Knight is trapped on A5, and you know what is going on? Knight, it was a really bizarre game that did end in a repetition, as we see there. And like you said, from Steven's perspective, that secured his at least a playoff.
Yeah, and kudos to Andy Woodward. This game made Andy the only player capable of catching Steven. No one else was in striking distance.
Right.
And yeah, Andy got it done today.
He did.
I think Josiah.
But again, Josiah, something's wrong. He doesn't understand that chess isn't just attack. You know, and he just, like, from the get-go, it was like he unleashed himself and created some self-inflicted wounds and never recovered. What do we have on our board? A 117 to a 118?
That was their final times in this game. So, yeah. So, I mean,
it's mesmerizing. I'm waiting for it to click down or something, you know, I see that. But no, that's something else. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like they spent all of their time to make the draw, but it wasn't like they did in 5 minutes either.
No.
And I think Raja might have liked to play spoiler.
We all do.
Yeah.
yeah, especially in the last round.
So I'm not
We're
sure where we are with the
hoping
cameras in the playing hall, but
we're getting a camera feed. I think we're just, unfortunately for us, we've had some technical issues during our broadcast. And seriously, it's not been our equipment. It's not. I mean, I've heard T-Mobile is the culprit in one case, and it might be there's still the culprit in another.
Yeah. So while of course the chess club is working on these beautiful renovations and construction, we have been utilizing a space down at the Chase Park Plaza Hotel. Phenomenal.
Exactly.
And that's been our go-to for these kinds of tournaments.
Right.
The only downside is the internet's a little shaky for us sometimes.
Exactly.
So we're struggling to get our feedback on,
right.
but we'll get you that game one way or another.
Right. But it's a great playing hall, and also We've had some open tournaments, blitz tournaments. Again, as the club is going through its renovations, the spaces at the Chase have been well received, as the World Chess Hall of Fame on the 3rd floor.
Yeah,
they're going to be hosting the Cairns Cup that is coming up, and we're looking forward to that as the legends of the ladies' game.
I'm sure you saw on the promo, but an absolute chess legend is gracing us with her presence for the Cairns Cup. So if you're in the St. Louis area, make sure you come around, especially if you're a lady chess player in the St. Louis area. I think Nona Gaprindashvili is going to make an appearance at our local ladies' night class. So if you're around St. Louis and you want to meet potentially one of the greatest female chess players of all time, be sure to come out for the Cairns Cup. And if you want to see Nona in action online, I think she's participating in our Ultimate Moves exhibition. That's starting June 12th. So really exciting year for the Cairns Cup.
For me, one of the great victories that Gaprindashvili had in her very illustrious career, you've heard me referring to Lone Pine, California, and Louis Statham. And she played in that tournament with some of the world's top Grandmasters, and she won it. She won the Swiss. It was a Swiss tournament, and she won it. So that, I mean, she was a player. And one of my favorite stories was Bobby Fischer, a very sexist remark, said that women couldn't play chess, and the reporter pushed him on to defend his statement. He said, I could give any woman in the world night odds. And the Soviets accepted. He said, our lady Gaprindashvili is willing to play a match against you with the night odds. And Bobby declined. He walked back. And it was a very famous line from Michael Tall in his journal. He wrote, Bobby's Bobby, but a night's a night. A night's a night. And Gaprindashvili will be in town, and we're looking forward to her visit very, very much indeed.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It also ties in nicely with an exhibition going on at the World Chess Hall of Fame right now. It opened pretty recently. It's all about FIDE and the World Championships, and it's really a walkthrough history. You know, I love the culture-centric Hall of Fame exhibitions, like chess and music, chess and comic books was a super popular one.
Oh, I love that.
But it's also nice to see one that's just pure chess. This is chess history. This is where the legends come from, and super, super interesting one. And I think we are going to take just another quick little break while we get our stuff back up online, and we will return once again with the playoffs.
Sounds good. Please stay with us.
Players are primed. The best of the best are ready to face off in the 2024 Grand Chess Tour. The top players in the world prepare to battle across 4 countries for a $1.5 million prize fund. Everything starts in Warsaw with the Superbet Rapid and Blitz Poland. Then off to Bucharest for the Superbet Chess Classic Romania. The players then travel to Zagreb for the Super United Rapid and Blitz Croatia. The tour concludes with back-to-back events in St. Louis, Missouri, the chess capital of America, for the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz and the Sinkfield Cup. 9 players will go in, but only one can be crowned champion. Who is prepared to make history? Get ready for the return of the Grand Chess Tour.
Hello everyone! Unfortunately, the internet troubles have gotten the best of us this time around. So the playoffs are live, they're happening down at the Chase, but we just don't have a way to present them to you because we can't get the feed down here in our studio. However, we want to bring you the interview with the winner, so we're going to go on a little bit of a break. We'll let the playoffs happen, and we'll be back with the winner of the epic Andy Woodward versus Steven Zierk match. Not only that, but we are having the match recorded, so we will bring you our coverage at a later date to be determined. So if you want to wait and see the action live, flip off the broadcast now. Wait for that live action commentary over the playoffs. But if you want to see who wins, we'll be back in probably about 15 minutes with the winner of the playoffs. Don't go anywhere. Yes, are we? Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Summer Chess Classic, blah, blah, blah. We have the games, so we're gonna bring them to you. Let's take a look. So round 1 in the playoffs was a draw, and now we have this position. Steven Zierk with the white pieces has his chance to take out Andy Woodward. If this game is drawn, we go to Armageddon. So thank you so much to the viewers at home sticking through with us here. This is our current position. How did we get here? It was sort of symmetrical Grunfeld type stuff, and not really. Okay, it was a fianchetto. White has this nice structure in the center, playing against the fianchetto dark squared bishop. Black, to his credit, not a lot of weaknesses, looking pretty good. Steven Zierk goes bishop e5 here. That move is a little bit beyond me. The player's taking some time in the opening for a blitz game. Again, this is 3+2. Andy with the white pieces drew against Steven in the first round of the playoff, and that's where we stand. This could be the final game in the Summer Chess Classic. After bishop e5, Andy really taking some time here, and fair enough. I'm not certain what the point of this move is. If I'm black, I'm thinking about a move like bishop f5, trying to challenge white's bishop here. My knight is well placed to guard that f5 square. I'm also looking at hopping in to this e4 square, trying to make use of that. Rook e8 also seems like a very natural move. Nothing wrong here. I don't think this is really opening advantage for Steven, to be honest with you. Especially this move bishop e5, I just don't get. Like, we played this move h3 all this time ago. Yes, it stops stuff like bishop g4, but it also is played with the intention of holding on to our dark squared bishop. So then why are we spending more time to play bishop e5? Like, I thought the whole point was, like, if we play some move after knight h5, we're going to duck back with our bishop, keep him nice and safe, keep this pressure on the dark squares. So yeah, bishop e5 strikes me as very, very odd. But this is the live position. Knight d2 is on the board. And this is incredibly slow play for a blitz game. Andy has used half his time, and we're on move 14. Okay, knight d7, and Steven's point is revealed. He did just want to trade off these dark squared bishops, and now breaks in the center with e4. And this move rook e8, it's not the most helpful. Right? We would much rather have our bishop on f5, right? And all of a sudden e4 is not on the table. That being said, e4 played. Andy down to a minute and 15 seconds, facing some pressure now. Do you take on e4? Do you let white play e5? That doesn't sound right. If you come back with this knight or something, like e5 is there, knight f5, but seems a little suspicious. Queen b6. This is a very active attempt by Andy. This says b pawn, d pawn, both attacked. What are you going to do? To my eyes, the key move looks like e5. We're hitting this guy. Do we have time to take here? I doubt it. I doubt it. Steven doesn't like it. Steven just goes knight b3. Says, I'm going to keep my guys defended, and you have all the same problems. Takes on e4, takes on e4 now. Knight comes to f6. And yeah, with this move, knight b3 included, I think Andy's back to doing okay. Yes, knight c5 might be on the table a little bit later on, but with the trade of one of these knights, this knight comes to f6, this bishop can breathe again, e5 is coming, black, it seems like, is breaking out and equalizing. I like e5 here. Play e5, get yourself some space, and then you have no problems. This also takes away the knight's forward square. We're going to try and come out with bishop e6 behind the move e5, finish our development, bring the rooks to the center, and say, you've got nothing. You've got nothing, Steven. That's what Andy's trying to say. e5, let's go. 30 seconds on the clock, Andy. Got to make a move. e5 played. Like Yasser would say, same move, but faster was better. Kind of a clunky saying, but you know, it's growing on me. So what do we do? How do we get an edge here with white? We can try takes, and try and highlight that these pieces aren't in the game just yet. Maybe queen d6 looking here. trying to bring in these guys, I think this is what I would go for. Just trying to prove that my pieces are a little bit better. Then again, there's rook e6, and this queen has to just leave. Let's see. Steven does take. Queen d6 is on the board. Steven and I synced in. All right. So rook e6 is what I thought to force the queen back, but then that highlights that this bishop can't develop. Andy down to 10 seconds? Is that true? 20 seconds on his clock. Okay. Rook back to e8 was his idea. Queen comes to c5 now. Can we take this and go b6? Kick the knight back out? Finish our development? No, queen c7 played. Still b6. Maybe on the cards, but that does activate white's bishop. Andy probably just looking, hoping for bishop e6 here. Now knight d4 is on the board, and this is where Steven is trying to prove his edge. If you can't develop this bishop, you can't say you've equalized, and bishop d7 finally lands on the board. Okay. I don't know if I would call it development, but it's better than the back rank. Rook e1 now. If I'm Andy, I'm taking that, and I'm going rook e8. No, queen f4 played, looking for activity. Just 7 seconds on his clock. But okay, rook e1. I want to do mean things to this queen. Queen c3 is a nice move. Lining up the queen with the king. Not going to be so comfy here for Andy yet. Still problems to solve. Now, by the way, the a pawn could be a bit loose. King g8 was Andy's choice. Then we saw a capture on e1, a recapture on e1. You would love to go rook e8, but it hangs your a pawn. Knight b3 again hits the a pawn. Do we go queen b4? Andy with just seconds to make his moves. We can't go queen b4. This hangs. b6 finally is played. So Andy was holding off on that move for so long because of this light squared pressure, but decided it was time. Is there a tactic here? This is rook c8, but what if we take on d7? Doesn't work. Don't think it works. Rook takes d7 is a nice idea, but not quite there. Knight d4 hits c6. Rook c8 tries to defend. Steven's going to try and take this pawn. I think he can. No, knight e2 played. Rook d6. He takes it like this. But now Andy with some activity. Look out for checkmating threats. Knight h5, knight f4. Okay, but yeah, rook c6, rook b8 played. Knight g3 trying to defend against those. Steven's up a pawn. It's a clean pawn. But just seconds on the clock for both players. h5, and Steven snags a second pawn. Andy's going for broke. He's going for broke on the king side. It has to be checkmate, or else he will lose this game. Rook takes e6, and that's got to be the end. Rook takes e6 is got to be the end. Steven snatches a bishop, and yeah, the pieces go away from the board now, and Steven is going to be our champion. White just up a clean bishop. Let's go back to that moment where rook takes e6 landed on the board. Rook c8 was a bad square. If you take back, queen takes, hits the king, hits the rook, and white will win. Where are we at now? Knight d5 played. There's simply nothing to do here. Nothing to do here for Andy. The knight is trapped on e2. We're going to actually lose another piece, and that is the end of the game. Steven Zierk is our Summer Chess Classic champion. I believe we are still going to try to get him here in the studio for a quick interview, but huge congratulations to Steven Zierk, showing that, you know, the youth might play a lot of blitz, but he's got something to say about it. First place prize of $4,500. Steven is our champion, and well-deserved too. What a phenomenal event from Steven. Keeping it all together, playing some really, really excellent chess, and coming home with the title. Well, once again, thank you to the viewers for sticking with us through some technical difficulties there. I am glad we got to give this last game to you live to declare the winner. We're going to go on just a brief break, and we'll be back with Steven to talk about his playoff victory, talk about his game today, and his tournament overall. Don't go anywhere.
Are you a chess educator, scholar, or enthusiast? Join me, Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, for the St. Louis Chess Conference to be held October 24th to 26th here in America's chess capital for the latest methods, resources, and research. Register now at stlchessconference.org.
The stages are set, the players are primed, the best of the best are ready to face off in the 2024 Grand Chess Tour. The top players in the world prepare to battle across 4 countries for a $1.5 million prize fund. Everything starts in Warsaw with the Superbet Rapid and Blitz Poland. Then off to Bucharest for the Superbet Chess Classic Romania. The players then travel to Zagreb for the Super United Rapid and Blitz Croatia. The tour concludes with back-to-back events in St. Louis, Missouri, the chess capital of America, for the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz and the Sinkfield Cup. 9 players will go in, but only one can be crowned champion. Who is prepared to make history? Get ready for the return of the Grand Chess Tour.
The top women's tournament returns. The best female chess players converge in the chess capital of America, St. Louis, Missouri, for the 4th edition of the Cairns Cup. The tournament kicks off on Wednesday, June 12th, with Ultimate Moves, a fun and casual exhibition event featuring women's world chess champion, Grandmaster Nona Gaprindashvili, and the Cairns Cup field. From June 13th through the 23rd, the Cairns Cup players will compete for an increased $200,000 prize fund. This tournament features 10 of the top female chess players in the world, including returning Cairns Cup champion, American Anna Zatonsky, former world champion Alexandra Kosteniuk, and 14-year-old American and rising star Alice Lee, the 2024 American Women's Cup champion. It's one of the most decisive classical tournaments in chess that you won't want to miss. Catch all the action on the St. Louis Chess Club YouTube and Twitch channels.
The St. Louis Chess Club is pleased to announce the expansion of our world-class chess facility. The 20,000 square foot expansion and upgraded facility will feature new ground-level classrooms supporting players of all ages, as well as expanded tournament and community gathering spaces with state-of-the-art technology. Accessibility upgrades, including a new 3-story elevator, will provide access for all participants and allow even greater community engagement in the great game of chess. As a proud resident of the Central West End neighborhood for over a decade, our hope is to build upon our investment into the community and solidify St. Louis as America's chess capital and preeminent global destination for lovers of the sport. We look forward to seeing you in our new space.
Are you a chess educator, scholar, or enthusiast? Join me, Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, for the St. Louis Chess Conference to be held October 24th to 26th here in America's chess capital for the latest methods, resources, and research. Register now at stlchessconference.org.
The top women's tournament returns. The best female chess players converge in the chess capital of America, St. Louis, Missouri, for the 4th edition of the Cairns Cup. The tournament kicks off on Wednesday, June 12th, with Ultimate Moves, a fun and casual exhibition event featuring women's world chess champion, Grandmaster Nona Gaprindashvili, and the Cairns Cup field. From June 13th through the 23rd, the Cairns Cup players will compete for an increased $200,000 prize fund. This tournament features 10 of the top female chess players in the world, including returning Cairns Cup champion, American Anna Zatonsky, former world champion Alexandra Kosteniuk, and 14-year-old American and rising star Alice Lee, the 2024 American Women's Cup champion. It's one of the most decisive classical tournaments in chess that you won't want to miss. Catch all the action on the St. Louis Chess Club YouTube and Twitch channels.
The stages are set. The players are primed. The best of the best are ready to face off in the 2024 Grand Chess Tour. The top players in the world prepare to battle across 4 countries for a $1.5 million prize fund. Everything starts in Warsaw with the Superbet Rapid and Blitz Poland. Then off to Bucharest for the Superbet Chess Classic Romania. The players then travel to Zagreb for the Super United Rapid and Blitz Croatia. The tour concludes with back-to-back events in St. Louis, Missouri, the chess capital of America, for the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz and the Sinkfield Cup. 9 players will go in, but only one can be crowned champion. Who is prepared to make history? Get ready for the return of the Grand Chess Tour.
Hello and welcome to the grand finale of the 2024 Summer Chess Classic. As always, I'm Caleb, and I'm joined by our Group B champion, Steven Zierk. Congratulations.
Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you for joining us here on the show. It's a long walk down from the chase, but we've got you here now, and you had to face potentially one of the brightest stars in America in a playoff to earn the crown. How do you feel?
I feel great. I mean, he beat me pretty soundly in the classical portion, so I was very glad to get some revenge here.
Yeah, absolutely. And he made it. He had to work to force a playoff today. You managed to secure a half point during the classical portion. The game looked pretty wild though against Raja. How did you feel in that game?
So the idea felt like the opening felt pretty good about, but Raja handled it really well actually. He found some great counterplay that I thought that I underestimated a bit.
Yeah. So looking here. So you went for this queen d3 line.
Yeah, this knight d5 c3. It's a little annoying for black. I mean, objectively black is fine, but really restricting the bishops.
Okay.
And so yeah, he went for this queen c5,
Yeah.
and there's a whole bunch of interesting lines here.
Yeah. So this is where d6 is hanging, but c4 is attacked.
Right.
So yeah, what were you calculating there?
So there's this what happened in the game. It's
Yep.
like queen d6, queen b5, a4, queen a6.
All right,
And
so
there's this move queen c5.
So
Yeah.
so you went for b4, but queen c5 defends
So
the knight.
yeah, so this was interesting. When I originally played a few moves back, when I played knight e3, this was my first idea.
Okay.
But the problem after queen c5, he has this really nasty move, bishop f5.
Bishop f5. Okay, so hitting. That's not the first thing you think about, right? Like black's trying to attack the pin piece, but
Right.
you move the bishop away from the knight.
Yeah, you move the bishop, you
And-
target e2, and there's just no good defense. Yeah, rook e1's a natural move, but rook e2. Yep.
Takes e2.
And bishop d3.
All right.
And yeah, I'm just busted because he's
Yeah.
getting the 2 bishops. And if
So-
you've seen my games, you know the 2 bishops are a deciding
Well, you've
factor.
been on both sides. Yeah, you were sacrificing in exchange every round, and with good results, and then you faced Irina, and next thing you know, you've got 2 rooks versus 2 bishops.
Yeah, which was a near fatal mistake on my part.
Yeah, but then turned that game around and won. So you found b4, which is sort of a weird looking tactic, where like b5 is going to interfere with the bishop and queen, but
Right, so there's a bunch of forcing lines here, and
you land here, and then knight a5, and you chose to sacrifice the bishop. Is there any other choice? Like, could you have gone for queen b6? But...
So I can take b6, right, but takes, the bishop hangs, so I play maybe bishop d5, and black takes on c3, and it's probably not lost, but this is a pretty nasty endgame. Like,
yeah, you're just, why would you do this, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So.
I mean, if I have to do that, then something's gone very wrong.
Landed on bishop f7, and then we got this sort of strange repetition. So you do pick up the knight, knight's trapped, and after knight c6, threw in a check, got the knight back, and then the game's over.
Right, so yeah, it's kind of tricky to avoid the repetition here, but because, I mean, I'd love to play knight d4 and trade off this bishop.
Yeah.
If I can do that, and then I think I'm just better because of black's exposed king.
Yeah, king's a bit weak, you're nice and safe, and these pawns aren't a threat yet. But.
Right, we're not to the endgame yet. Black needs more pieces off the board before those really count.
Yeah. So the draw opened the door only for one player, that player being Andy Woodward, and he managed to win his game against Josiah, and that takes us to present day. Here we are. So how did you feel going into the playoff? Have you played any Blitz with Andy before?
I've played him a few times online.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's, as you might imagine, a really tough opponent.
Sure.
I think he's one of the top players on chess.com, I think, like 3,100.
He's pretty strong. So the first game, you were in a little bit of trouble, but managed to hold the end game and make a draw. So
right, so I felt pretty comfortable a little out of the opening.
Just let me know when we reach something key.
Yeah, so he went for this queen trade, which is the same thing he did against Alice in the classical.
Okay, so you were expecting it more or less.
Yeah, I wasn't too surprised.
Bishop e2.
Yeah, and a lot of pretty typical ideas here. b5,
Yeah.
knight c4 is an idea from white.
Okay, so rook b8. And
so if I can just develop comfortably, I'm in very, very good shape here, right?
So
pawns are solid. So he's trying to put some pressure on me, make a little use of my slightly awkward pieces.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the QG in a nutshell, right? You get the same kind of symmetrical structure, but if black can't finish development, then there are some issues. And so we got in with rook a7. And to my eyes, this still looks pretty comfortable for black. But
yeah, I think black should be completely comfortable here. I think I messed up a little later.
So coming forward.
So I saw this, rook a1. Yeah, like here I think if anything, anyone's better, it should be black, actually, after bishop e1.
Yeah.
Yeah, kick the knight back. But I think, yeah, rook c5 I think was a step down the wrong path.
Sure.
Should probably just take with the bishop. Maybe with the knight too is fine, actually.
Yeah.
But
I
think
was just looking at some squares, but yeah, rook takes, and now after knight d4.
So what I missed here is I was looking at f3, knight d6 later, but I missed if he just plays f3 immediately, the knight has to go to g5, which is a terrible square.
Yeah, well, probably not h4, but wrong circuit, I guess.
Right, yeah, that is not where the knight wants to be.
So after this,
so I just have to give up a pawn.
Did give up the pawn, and it's not the easiest endgame for white to try to win, but you gave him a lot of trouble. It felt like somewhere around here things started to drift for white. Where after h5, this move king e2. You know, I didn't see the game too much, but I thought, you know, it seemed like later on he needed something over here because you were getting this counterplay.
Yeah, at some point he shouldn't be able to promote the b pawn by itself, so he does need some kingside play eventually.
Yeah. Knight b3. And here, yeah, after that move, I feel like that's probably some relief for black. Or what were your thoughts?
So the messed up pawn structure is nice. The trading pawns is nice. One thing I was worried about though is once I take on h2, if he just plays h5 here, like if he puts the pawn there, my g7 pawn is a perpetual target and h5 is safe because of the dark squared bishops. Yeah. So this is something I was worried about during the game.
Definitely. Although, I mean, you can only worry so much with like 10 seconds on your clock. He chose bishop a5 instead, and you played this nice move e5, and now, you know, okay, still down a pawn, but
yeah, no, I think he might have overestimated this bishop a5 tactic because most of the lines it works really well, and when you each have 5 seconds on the clock, right, tactics look really nice.
Yeah. But then after g6, it felt like this was the moment. Okay, this pawn's locked on a dark square. This pawn's not really going anywhere.
Yeah, g6 was a huge relief. Because now h4 is also a perpetual target.
Yeah, and I thought this was super instructive. The bishop, you know, sort of, you found the right square for the bishop. It pressures the king side, drawing white's attention there, and also stops the queen side b pawn. And there wasn't much more to say after that, I think. And bishop f4, securing the draw. But okay, the one we really want to talk about is the big win. So this one we did get to see live. And I thought it was an excellent game. You chose this knight c3, bishop f4 stuff. And when did you sort of leave book? So
not for a little while. This is a pretty standard setup. c6, knight c7 is a common response.
Yeah.
Yeah, this knight e8, knight d6, I don't know it super well, but I've seen it before. I mean, you're controlling e4 very well.
Yeah, so this move, bishop e5, I was less familiar with. So the idea is just to trade off the dark squared bishops, I guess?
Yeah, so that was not booked for me. The idea exactly is if he moves the knight, because I'm worried about him playing knight d7 and rook e8 and establishing a good e5.
Yeah.
And if he can just do that with the bishops, well, if he can just do that, then I think black is very, very comfortable, probably even more comfortable.
Yeah, like let's say you put the bishop somewhere else, and I don't know, some rook e8. This bishop could be a nice piece, right?
Right, yeah, if black gets that e5 in, exactly.
So going this way instead, if I can fix it. Maybe I can't. I love the chess.com controls. We'll do it the Yasser way. Okay, so bishop e5, rook e8. So he goes for the same plan with knight d7, but you do get the bishops off the board. It felt like you were first with e4.
Yeah, I felt pretty good at this point. I mean, he might be able to seek some complications here of his own with e5.
Just directly.
Yeah, I thought he might do this, and this is pretty double-edged. This I was still thinking about, but I was glad when he didn't play it.
Takes his takes and takes. The bishop has a slight problem, I guess, and I don't know.
Right, yeah, it's a pretty double-edged position there.
Yeah, he chose this interesting move, queen b6, just hitting both pawns. And did you consider e5 or
no, I
just...
did not. But e5, there's queen b2 is the general problem.
Yeah, and I wasn't so sure after knight e2. I mean, same as you guys, I was reacting, but yeah, I guess knight f5 and maybe the queen's gonna
Queen's a little awkward. Yeah, knight b3, she has no squares. I'm threatening like queen d2, rook fb1.
Yeah, could be nice.
Yeah, that's pretty dangerous. I don't know if black can rush something like c5 there, but that's that's a tricky line.
Something we were looking at, but knight b3 instead keeps everything solid, and I think, yeah, at first I was like, okay, Andy's gonna go e5, finish development, and he'll be okay. But then he couldn't finish development.
Right. Yeah, it's still a little tricky for black, especially right with low on the clock.
Yeah. So takes, queen d6 I thought was nice, and then you came up with this idea where you just kind of kept pressuring the a-pawn, and it sort of prevented black from finishing, getting that comfortable equality. So you chose queen c5 and queen c7 and knight d4. So this, looking back, I thought maybe this was another moment where Andy could have played bishop e6 and like, okay, trading that bishop for that knight maybe isn't ideal for black, but at least the pieces are in the game. How did you feel?
Yeah, the development is comfortable.
Yeah.
I was feeling pretty good at this point. I thought maybe, yeah, again, if bishop e6, I would weigh whether to take or maybe just play rook e1. But I also have, he always has to be wary of knight b5, although I don't think it does much after bishop e6. Maybe he just plays queen e7.
Yeah, just bring the queen over.
Oh, but I have knight d6 actually. Because rook e d8, knight f5 is definitely not what he has in mind.
Yeah, nice one.
So there's still some tricks. There's still a little bit he has to deal with.
I did not see knight b5. But yeah, what I was hoping for was rook e1, and I was just like, let's just put the bishop here and try and hold.
Right.
But
yeah, if he can fix the bishop, he's just comfortable.
What he did was bishop d7, and I liked everything you did here. Queen c3 was great. The king is on a touchy square, and now the knight's a bit loose. Just brought the rook in. And like again, we would love to go rook e8, but the 8 pawn. And then after b6, it felt like I thought this was the moment where it's like, okay, something's gonna fall.
Yeah, c6, f6, even d7 a little bit, even b6. Just managing all that, right, is pretty tricky here, even in an objective sense, I think. Much less right when you have 4 seconds on your clock.
Sure. it seemed like this was one of the more comfortable blitz games I've ever seen. I don't think you ever really let things slip. You had a comfortable 30 seconds in eternity to figure it all out. Knight d4 was nice, and then knight back to e2, and yeah, it's so awkward to keep all of these 4 things together.
Right, and now his queen can't cover both f6 and d6, so things get even tougher.
Yeah, rook d6 does it, and the first pawn falls, and then the second pawn falls, and then you found the nice sort of finishing tactic here with rook takes e6. And that's kind of all she wrote. So, final thoughts, Stephen. A pretty excellent tournament, 6.5 out of 9 in the standard portion, and a solid win in the playoff. What is up next for you in your chess life?
Yeah, I just want to keep. I mean, this feels great. It feels like I'm in form, and just want to keep playing.
Okay, absolutely. Well, we've had you here before as Grandmaster in Residence in St. Louis. Maybe we'll try and get something like that again later. But thank you for joining us here on the show. Congratulations again on an excellent victory in the tournament, and best of luck in your next event.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And just to wrap up the show, our final standings here. Ray Robson, first place in the A group with 6 points, and a fantastic tournament from Awonder and Andrew Hong as well, both ending on 5.5. And of course, in the B group, we have, and Ray Robson, our champion. And in the B group, we have a tie for first between Andy and Steven, with Steven becoming our champion on tie breaks. Thank you all once again at home for joining us here on the show. That's it from St. Louis, and we'll see you guys with the next classic. Have a good night.
This has been a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club. Any reproduction or distribution of this content without the express written consent of the St. Louis Chess Club is prohibited.